Yeah.
Okay, hey, so someone called in reference to your Facebook post.
The Eagles lost, man.
I know, so...
I'm fine. The Eagles lost and the dogs are barking. Okay.
I got you. You don't hurt yourself?
No, but fucking Jalen Hurts the 3 goddamn turn the ball over 6 times, man.
That's right, yeah. Okay. All right, man. I appreciate it. All right, take it easy.
I think it's 2 ways you can actually cut a sandwich. A and B are the 2 ways you can cut it. Choose C or D. You see health.
And was assisting people down. My man just started throwing babies out the window. We was catching them, unlike Aguilar and his mishaps. I like to put that out there.
The MVP front runner. If anybody else got to say something different about that, then come see me. I'm right here in Beemore outside the bank. If you got an issue with that, come see me. I'm about that. Big trust. Woo woo. Lamar Jackson in the flesh.
Took a few more here for Lamar. Mike Jones. Lamar, there was that point in the season where you guys lost 3 straight, 4 or 5.
Mike Jones. Mike Jones. That's me. Mike Jones. That's me right now. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right.
What? What the fuck?
Oh my. Oh. What the? Oh.
You bristling up? Well, just make sure you're not. Because I can bristle up too now. I mean, you ask a question like that, and I'm trying to give you a logical answer.
The season's a lot like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes. And so we've got to realize the importance of each football game.
Hey, when you
I use more product than anybody.
When you and Tim go get your hair done, what y'all tell them? Like to the left or the right?
No, I tell them go number 2 all the way up to a fade and just give me a faux hawk, man. It's a faux hawk, bro.
Number 2.
Hey, Paul, what do you tell them?
Hey,
just a little off the side.
Leave
Just a little bit off the side.
Leave the sides.
I always tell them I should leave a little bit on the top.
Oh.
The Bulldogs.
Yeah, Bulldogs.
Wow. Not so fast, midget. Not so fast.
Midget?
Yeah, little guy. Hey, not so fast. I go with Harvard. What's the matter?
I'm not laughing about it. You think this is funny? I take it serious. I'm not real serious. I put my heart and soul into it every single week.
All I'm saying is the camera show.
I'm just telling you right now what I do every single week. Every single week, I put my freaking heart and soul into this. I step my off. I go out there and laugh. It's not funny. It's not funny. Nothing's funny to me. I don't want to go out there and get embarrassed on Monday Night Football in front of everybody.
That's why I'm asking you.
I'm telling you right now. We're talking. Deuce and I are talking.
What was the context?
I'm done. Sorry. I'm not doing it.
I want to say y'all saw Dakota. I want to go to LSU. Ended up going to Mississippi State. Won a game. 1 year out of 6. Oh, you think that's funny, T? You got 2 B's, don't you? So you want to feed bro? Hey, how you feel?
I just don't condone the bashing of Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys and have the
Green throws him in a chokehold, rips him back down, and is throwing punches. And no one has any chill at this moment, and they're after it. All Ragnarok is breaking out there in Jacksonville, Bengals and Jags.
All right, tell the camera what you think about life. Like, how do you see life?
Sucks. But I'm playing football right now, so.
And just Smitty's, and then none of them. So I had all the thought process planned out. But anyways, oh, there's Landon.
Yeah. Clearly, Landon Dickerson, the center, All-American.
Watch this, George.
Damn.
What the? He bought that like. I've
never seen quick.
Oh,
I knew how important this was for our team. Auntie, chill. I knew how important this was for our team, and just.
It's just crazy to me how much music I don't know out here. Like, I know I'm getting old. Like, I listen to all types of music too. I just don't know shit out here. I ain't never heard this song in my life.
I'm big. Yeah.
5 yards.
Bro, y'all need help, bro.
Who told y'all that? Who told you?
J-Mo, that's your fault.
I'm going to go to Cancun like everybody told me to do, and I'm going to enjoy myself because I don't have nothing else to do, so I'm taking myself there.
So you don't quit, and you don't quit in sports. You retire. You don't get to quit. It's not an option. See, someone told me a long time ago, that ain't even an option. The person told me that, he ain't here anymore, he died.
I always tell our boys that the most important things in life are faith, family, and football. I don't believe it. You stupid son of a... Run the route again. Mark, you stupid mother... That is so bad. Are you mentally challenged, son? Or seriously, are you mentally challenged? And if you notice there, I put them in that order for a reason, because the thing that comes first is your faith. Your faith with God is the most important thing in life. If you don't get your into gear, we might not win a ball game all season. We'll go 0-12. And everyone in your life's going to hate you, myself included. All right? All right, bow your heads. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we as a coaching staff know that football is just a game. So we want to use this game to build young men of character. Win by any means necessary. So if you're at the bottom of the pile, you see someone's finger, break it. You see that star running back at the bottom of the pile, twist that ankle, get him out of the game. Anything we can do to win this ball game. I don't care if you got to play dirty. I don't care if you got to cheat.
I'm telling you. Hey, they're rougher than a pine cone toilet seat. Those guys can really play.
Are you in this game? Let him handle it. Let him handle it.
Yes, ma'am.
Let him handle it. Let him handle it. Oh, you shut the fuck up. Let him handle it. Don't tell me nothing. You understand? Get off the fucking sideline. Push it on my. You don't push it on my.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game.
We had several opportunities to make plays. We didn't get the plays made. We got to make more plays. It reminded me when I was in the 3rd grade, and it came time to go to the 4th grade in June, and they told me I was almost good enough to go to 4th. Did you go or not? No, I had to go to 3rd. Do it again? Yeah.
Lousy practice. Trying to get our asses kicked Friday.
Coach, what about 4th string? Didn't even get to practice.
Wilder, after all the goddamn shenanigans you pulled last season, you should be thanking God you're still in goddamn uniform, goddammit!
Needed some time to get going, and here comes the... Oh! We almost lost one.
We got another game. We got another game, man.
And roll time. Thank you. Roll time. Roll time. That's what. Roll time. Roll time.
I hate Tennessee because first of all, it's Tennessee, and I just hate them because they low down, they dirty, they some snitches, and I hate Philip Farmer. I hate their colors. I'm not a dog person. I just hate Tennessee, man. Like I hate Neyland Stadium. It looks like a garbage truck working convention, and I hate all their quarterbacks. I hate Tennessee, man. It reminds me. It's not that orange you get Tennessee. I hate Tennessee more than I hate Auburn. I just dislike Auburn. I hate Tennessee. Tennessee's colors is that throw orange. It's not that orange you can sit with. It's that puke inside of pumpkin orange. And I don't like pumpkins. So I really don't like Tennessee, man. I can't stress that enough, man. And they lose. They sore losers because they're not Alabama, and I hate Tennessee, man.
That's every all year. Thank you, man.
I can't stress that enough. I hate them.
I mean, his ability to just escape and make plays on the run, I mean, it's just outstanding what I've seen. And just the defensive side of it as well. They're definitely going to be a concern for me going forward if Alabama doesn't get their offensive line straightened out.
Chelsea, that's a great point, because if you look at Alabama's...
60 seconds, right?
Can't wait to get paid again.
Oh, baby. You know what? I'm still happy.
Oh, there it is, baby.
What is up, y'all? I'm gonna start off with some drops because shout out to Jesse for showing up for the Touchdown Tribe. Let's go ahead and play your drop, Jesse. Shout out to you, Jesse. All right. Oh. My bad, y'all. That was one of my meme drops for the show. So we are going to be starting off with the show play call list. We got the motivational video. We have the NFL schedule leak. We're going to be breaking that down because it's not really a leak, y'all. Speakeasy, we're going to be discussing what they had to say about Dallas and Eagles and which quarterback is having the most to lose. Then I'm going to get into Mahomes and the backup Justin Fields. I'm going to be breaking down some footage of Justin Fields because Justin Fields really isn't as bad as people think. And also, I heard comments that someone said that the Chiefs are probably in danger this season, and I don't really see it that way. I don't really see that the Chiefs are in any sort of danger. I think they're still going to be a threat, and we're going to break all that down. Then we're going to get into Aikman's thoughts on each NFL QB. He had great, amazing thoughts. I always love and enjoy hearing from Troy Aikman, and it's not just because I'm a Dallas fan, y'all, okay? Maybe I'm a little biased. Y'all already know. My bad, y'all. That was one of my other drops. But y'all already know I'm a little biased.
That's just me. Maybe I'm biased a little bit. Maybe I'm biased a lot of bit. But who cares for this discussion?
But that's just me. Okay. We're going to be breaking that down. And then Lane Kiffin's thoughts on Ole Miss. And some people look at it as Lane Kiffin was taking shots at Ole Miss. I don't really see it that way. But I'm going to be getting into what he had to say on that with, you know, the racism at Ole Miss, all of that. And then close it out with the motivational video. Y'all already know the drill. And shout out to you, Pooh Man. Let's go ahead and play your drop. Always appreciate you. The best mod in the YouTube streets, as I like to say.
Rolex wearing. Woo! Diamond ring wearing. Woo! Kiss stealing. Woo! Wheeling dealing. Woo! Limousine ride. Woo! Jet flying. Woo! Sucking on a gun. Woo! And I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. They give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair. Woo!
Shout out to you, Pooh Man. Always love playing your drop. Maybe others will trickle in here and join the team so I can play their drops as well. I always enjoy playing everybody's drop to show appreciation for my Touchdown Tribe community. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get into the motivational video. It is from Your Average Logical Thinker. Shout out to Mo. Y'all, she was having a difficult day. I missed her live. I caught it, I want to say 2 hours after or something like that. But I caught the replay and she was having a difficult day. So keep her in your thoughts, prayers, and lift her up if you see her in the YouTube streets. We all are in need of encouragement, right? But ironically, Mo had some thoughts and it really challenged me and motivated me. So this is why she's going to be the opening motivational video for today. So shout out to Your Average Logical Thinker, Mo. Make sure you subscribe to her channel.
Focus on our haters, we give them life. Stop focusing on them. I know a lot of people like haters because it gives them motivation to do better. Once you know there's a hater, then just keep it moving, you know? But when we focus on them and make them our primary source of inspiration, that's not good. Because it's going to turn you into something that you never thought you would be. And I think that's how a lot of these channels turn toxic. You know, they get a little bit of haters, they respond, and then they go back and forth, and then their channel builds off of that, and now you got to keep the drama going. You got to find somebody else, and then the cycle continues. The next thing you know, you making money, but you ain't really feeling good on the inside.
Shout out to Mo for that, y'all. It's so true. And that, it really challenged me, made me think. I was like, man, do I focus on my haters too much? Is that really where my sole motivation is coming from? Like, what's my source of motivation? Because, you know, I do believe it's okay to an extent to have a hater motivate you to do better. I do think that's needed sometimes because it goes back to you're not always going to have wins. You're not going to always have things go your way, and not everyone's going to like you, right? We all face that in life, no matter what we're doing. But, you know, you can use that to motivate you a little bit. I think it's okay to an extent, but with what she's talking about, when that's your sole source of motivation, that can be dangerous. And, you know, the Bible talks about making idols of things, and you can make an idol, an addiction out of anything, right? And I feel like that just goes for this as well. You could make an idol or an addiction out of your haters, and that can be that can present challenges that you wouldn't think could come from that. But yeah, I really like what she had to say on this. It was very, you know, like I said, challenging and motivating, and just something to keep you in check. So I hope that helped y'all like it helped me. But shout out to Your Average Logical Thinker, Mo. Like I said, she was having a difficult day this morning, and just keep her in your thoughts, prayers, and if you see her in the YouTube streets, make sure you lift her up and tell her that you're thinking of her. All right, we had some new people come into the building. Shout out to Miguel. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. But shout out to you for being here. It was good seeing you in the comment section today. It really put a smile on my face. So thank you so much for showing up for the Touchdown Tribe. What is up? Speaking of somebody showing up, Sash Cash, always good to see you. You are somebody who's been a great encouragement in the YouTube streets with how you show up for everybody, even if it's just for a little bit of time. But I really appreciate you showing up for me. All right. I need to get you a drop, Stash Cash. I was thinking about that earlier. Or actually, no, was it? I guess you could consider it earlier. It was definitely early in the AM. But I was like, man, I need to get me a drop for Stash Cash. All right. Moving on, y'all. Let's go ahead and get into the show. All right, we're going to be talking about the NFL schedule leaks, y'all. It's really not a leak, okay? People, I feel like this is just something that the NFL is using to get people talking. It's really not a leak.
It's my greatest joy.
Okay, Shregs, big news right now. Obviously, schedule release happening. Do you, McCarthy's right over here.
Yeah, what's up,
McCarthy,
B-Mac?
thank you for this. And I'm excited we're having this conversation right in front of you. Do you hate or love the, weak leaks of the schedules? Because I'm going to let you know, as a Daily Show host, it's been hard to keep up with who the hell's where at what time. Who's leaking these? Do you think it's a part of it? And do you love, like I do, the fact that the schedule release is now becoming another celebration of the football schedule?
I absolutely love that it is a tentpole item of the calendar year. It goes from combine to free agency to draft to then schedule release. And then you take a nice 2 months or whatever it is, then we get back for OTAs and we go. But I'll tell you, Pat,
There's
these
always
aren't
a
leaks.
lead up, right? There's always a lead up. You go from the college, the combine, all these lead ups.
They're announcements what we're getting. If we got an actual if we got an actual thing that wasn't announced by one of the actual broadcast partners, I'd say that's good reporting, that's a leak, but we haven't gotten any that's actually confirmed that hasn't been announced in a big upfront and some splashy display.
Okay, so this is on purpose to turn this into a couple day little, hey, here's the appetizer, here's the
So
Capri's
this
with
is
the...
intentional. It's on purpose. It's not really leaks, y'all. I know people are getting wrapped up in it, but it's not really leaks, okay? This is with intent. You know, you've had NBC release this information. You've had Fox release this information. We still don't know all the details yet of the dates and things like that. But it's intentional with what we know right now. It's not leaks. The broadcasters or the one, would it be networks? The networks broadcasting these events, they're the ones releasing certain information, giving you little, like Pat McAfee said, little appetizers.
The mushrooms. We had a little pizza thing.
But what actually it becomes the main dish for these upfronts, they're starting NBC and saying, guess what? We've got Mike Tirico here, and here is our Sunday night opener. And that's their tent pole for NBC for the entire fall calendar.
And this just goes back to what he said earlier. And this is Peter Schrager. Shout out to Peter Schrager. But he said, we've had these lead ups, right? So you think about the combine, you think about the draft. Now we're having these little lead ups to the schedule release. These are all things that are intentional. It's not leaks, okay? We can relax. I get why people are saying leaks, but I get annoyed when people get so caught up in it because I'm just like, y'all, it's really not leaks. Don't fall for it. This is intentional, like Peter Schrager said.
Same thing.
Fox did it as well. Here's our Thanksgiving Day game. And then Amazon did theirs with here's Lions Bill. So as much as we love to talk about Jack Reacher or whatever else they have on, that is going. Is that not a thing?
Reacher's no, it's a great show. It's a great show.
It's great, but that's Amazon, right? So
Jack Reacher's an adult.
No, I'm saying we love Jack Reacher, but the real tentpole is the NFL, and we've got this, and we're going to roll it out, and that's the main dish. The caprese salad is whatever else we have.
Okay, I got it. And then Thursday night prime time.
Jesse, you said Chelsea, the schedule has already been leaked. And then, like I said, hopefully you just heard what Peter Schrager had to say. But these really aren't leaks. It's all intentional. All the networks are releasing this information for what they have so far. We still don't know, y'all. We still don't know the full extent of everything. We don't know the times, the networks it's going to be on. What we know right now for sure is just based off what these networks have given us. So we know like Eagles versus Dallas, that's a Thanksgiving game. What else do we know? We know about, I think is it the Lions and who's the Lions playing? Lions and the Bills, I think it is. But we know those games. But this is just like slow information, right? It's just the appetizer, as Schrager said. These aren't leaks. It's all intentional, okay?
ESPN, 8 p.m. The NFL Live crew will
And you know
basically
what,
be launching.
Tiffany, this goes back to what I said yesterday. I said they should just release the schedule because you already have all the networks releasing certain information for what they have, right? The lead up to the actual schedule release. I wish they just would have just released the whole dang thing. If we were gonna do that, just release the whole dang thing. That's what I say too, Tiffany. Because at this point, it's like, I don't know. But like I said, we still don't know the what games is it? The international games. We still don't have all that information yet. And Peter Schrager says in this that they are still currently working on that. So it's not, y'all, I promise you, we don't know everything yet.
Us into the next football calendar. Chiefs Broncos has been leaked as the Monday Night Football game.
Take the
but we
word
don't know.
leak with a grain of salt. I get everybody's using the word leak, but take it with a grain of salt. It's not really a leak. Jesse, yes, exactly. It's all for ratings. It's all for show. It's all for the lead up, as Schrager said. You know, you had the combine, the lead up to the combine, you had the lead up to the draft, and now you have the lead up to the schedule. It's just how it works. It's all for ratings and money.
What city it's in, Schrags? Are we going to get brisket or marijuana?
Oh, and speaking of that, speaking of the ratings thing, Jesse, to add on to that, it's also to get everyone talking, right? What have you seen the most talk about? I have went on YouTube. Everything has been about this NFL leak. That's why I didn't want to make my thumbnail about that, okay? I didn't want my thumbnail being about this NFL leak of the schedule. It's like, you know, I'm not getting wrapped up in it because I knew what it was. And I don't know if this is just because of like people I know who work in the business. I don't know. But that's why I'm just like, it doesn't faze me like it does everybody else, I guess.
Is it going to be Kansas City or Denver? That would be a good start to the season.
Those guys usually go hand in hand.
Well, brisket certainly can taste a little bit more delightful. Denver, obviously, fantastic fan bases. Monday night's going to have to hit. It's an interesting balance because the NFL has to keep all their partners happy. Obviously, they have a lot more partners now. It is literally being subject to investigation with how many partners they have because everybody wants to get into the NFL's game. But balancing good games is like pivotal
and you
for the
also
entire league.
have the Chiefs and the Broncos. I can't remember which, was it Prime? It probably says right here, but I'm just not seeing it. Y'all can probably see it better than I can. But whatever that one's going to be on, that's going to be a great game because you got to think Mahomes is on the fast track. He could potentially return earlier than expected. Knicks, I don't know about, what was Knicks? I can't even remember what injury Knicks had. Was it an ACL injury? I can't even remember. But depending on what injury he had, that was late. That was late in the season, so he could be returning later rather than, you know, earlier like Mahomes. So we'll see what happens with that. But either way, that's going to be a great game.
They've been able to do that. And I think that is a massive thing that the NFL has over good schedule matters.
But you better believe the competition of ratings and all that is great, but the competition of who got the best games is real amongst these networks. And it's, hey, what do you mean you're going to give Amazon that? What are we going to get? Or hey, you gave NBC Giants, Cowboys. What? So this one's interesting to me. Obviously, we're ESPN.
I think NBC got Giants, Cowboys. I'm assuming that because that's what Schrager said. I like that. Maybe I'm biased a little bit, but that's going to be such a great game, y'all. Such a great game. With all the changes that the Giants made, and then Dallas rebuilding their defense. I know I'm a Dallas fan, right? I'm just so excited. Like, I'm so excited for football, y'all.
Haven't announced where it is yet, which means by Thursday they will. And as I'm walking over here, and we're in this awesome replay room, there's another conference room where all the schedule makers are still meeting at this very moment.
Y'all, okay, we know tidbits, like Pat McAfee put it, the little appetizers. We know that, right? They're not really leaks, as Schrager said, because they're still currently working on the schedule. We don't know everything. Some of it's just speculation. You have to take it with a grain of salt, okay?
Putting together the final touches, so it's not even done yet. So
it's Monday Night Football every week.
Every week.
Where are they? I need a night game for that suite. I've been investing $250,000 a year into that thing. We've only been in there one time at night, and it was spectacular.
Well, that's the team's fault.
Hey, Tone, why don't you shut? Do you guys got a quarterback over there, Tone? How about that? Who's your quarterback?
Yeah,
Pat McAfee threw Aaron Rodgers in Tone's face. Tone Diggs. Shout out to Tone Diggs. That was funny.
Look at that.
It's going to be hard to put you guys on prime time. Nobody knows who your
That's what I
quarterback
was
is.
gonna
I'm telling you, Dusty. I'm telling you. People can't sleep on the Giants right now. Like, I've seen a lot of Dallas fans, like, talking so positive about the Cowboys and the record that Dak has against Giants, and I'm just like, yeah, but this is going to be a different Giants team that we're facing. This isn't the Giants of old. We're talking about a head coach that they brought in who had 18 years of experience with the Ravens, and even prior to that, tons of experience, right? Also, you have Jackson Dart, considered a top rookie QB. You also have all the changes that they made and the draft picks, the number of draft picks they had. That was impressive, how many draft picks they came up with. But there's just so many things, and I'm just like, you can't sleep on the Giants.
Do you think the league is pissed at Aaron because they can't put the Steelers on primetime yet because they don't know who their quarterback's going to be?
Hey, fascinating thing, actually, because if Aaron was on the team, they would certainly be searching for primetime games, I think.
Well, I think it's actually a real talking point. It starts when they start making the schedule. And I've talked to Mike North, who runs the whole thing, several times over the years, that, yes, every little piece matters. So is Rodgers playing? We don't know. We're going to have to go with our best guess. But if he doesn't play, are they not equally intriguing to you?
Y'all,
Like, is that not...
have Mina Kimes. I didn't put it on my show play call list, but I do have a video from Mina Kimes, if we can get to it, on Aaron Rodgers. Y'all know I love Mina Kimes. She's one of my favorite females in the sports analyst business. Her thoughts, very impressive, and I can't wait to play that one.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy is worthy of primetime.
I would think a Will Howard / at least for an early Monday night game. Let's see what we have. So, but they have to weigh all that stuff. No, not at all. I mean, I don't think you want 7 games.
Here's a part of the
cool is that?
process. We're allowed to get behind the scenes.
Pat McAfee's show was able to get the behind the scenes of how the scheduling and all of this works. It was crazy, y'all.
We're very grateful for it. Shout out to Barcode and ESPN crew for setting this all up, getting these shots earlier today. That's trying to match everything. Here's the front office, obviously, the NFL offices still playing NFL Network back there.
Yeah, Kyle Brandt in a sweatshirt. What's up, man?
Hey, Kyle is part of the prime
There
time
it is,
coverage
on
of
Thursday night with me.
Cannot wait to see that. Corpo to the fullest here.
These are the guys. This is the scheduling
So
team
here's
right
the
here.
scheduling team, y'all. That was great insight. I really love this insight that Pat McAfee was able to bring us with the scheduling team and how the scheduling process is working right now. And like I said, you know, well, it's not just me, okay? This information came from Peter Schrager, but Peter Schrager talking about how it's not really leaks. It's just the networks releasing this information. We still don't know all of the scheduling yet. Of course, there's speculation, but they were still working on the schedule, and we still don't know anything with the timing of the international games, how that's going to work. So you have to take everything you see right now about the NFL schedule leaks with a grain of salt.
You see See, that's
What?
Mike North with the long hair. These are
Peter's
the folks
brother.
working on it. That's it right there. They're in that room.
Good luck in there, boys.
Zoom in on that screen. That is Peter's brother, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but we are very thankful for them getting up. This is not a live look, but this was filmed about 45 minutes ago.
This is the Brain Trust.
And pretty jovial.
So this was earlier today. What time does Pat McAfee come on? 12 o'clock? I think he ended by like 2 today. So that was around this time earlier today. They were still working on that NFL schedule.
Pretty jovial. I assume there's some AI in there somewhere as well.
Yeah.
If we had to guess, I like it's a tight room. You know, let's make sure that the vibes are being heard as we're live here in New York
Now,
City.
when
Okay,
I tell
let's
you
bounce-
that they're still working on the NFL schedule, that's not including the games that was released from the individual networks. So you had NBC, Fox, maybe Prime, I think, released one. So you do have certain networks releasing the information they know for certain is on the schedule, already have a time. There's going to be no question about those games. All right, and let's see. We had somebody, I don't think I've seen you before, Jasper. Shout out to you for being here. Always good to see a new face. Yeah. I know that you subscribed to me, but I just haven't, I don't believe, seen you in the chat yet. So shout out to you, Jasper, for being here. Oh yeah, let's see. This was something Tiffany had sent me. Speaking of like the NFL leaks with what the speculation is for the scheduling. So this breaks down, and like I said, take it with a grain of salt, right? We already know that the Cowboys will play Giants. We already know they'll play the Eagles, Green Bay, games like that. We already know. We already know that's going to be on the schedule. Let me see if I can't zoom into some of these. I really want to show the Cowboys one. Oh yeah, Washington. So we know Giants, Eagles, Washington. We know those are going to be on the schedule, right? But then you get into the others. Oh yeah, and we also knew about the Ravens. We knew about the Ravens one for a long time. We knew that was going to be a international game, so we knew about the Ravens one. But all these other games, it's like we still don't know the date and time of anything, y'all. Okay, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. Also had this one from Divine Photos. He sent it in the Discord. Shout out to Divine Photos. If y'all want me to react to anything, the best place to send it to me is in the Discord. I have a lot to react to that Derek had sent me. So shout out to Derek. All right, but this is the Lions and the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be the Amazon Prime game. That's going to be an amazing game. Y'all, I won't hold you. That's going to be a great game. All right, let's go to, oh, wrong one. Let's go to some more drops because we had 3 a.m. walk in the building and we had Tiffany walk in the building. Shout out to you, Tiffany. Let's play your drop. Shout out to you, Tiffany. And we had 3 a.m. Make sure you guys subscribe to 3 a.m. Adoptee Voices. Great content over there. And it's very inspiring, but also informative. Everyone needs to know information on adoption, whether you plan to adopt or you don't, or if you have been adopted or haven't been adopted. This is information everyone should know. All right, but shout out to you, 3 a.m., and I hope everyone subscribes to your channel. Shout out to you. Oh, and I didn't say this earlier, but Jesse, you can catch Jesse on the Sports Lounge. Make sure you check out their channel, but he is a co-host on the panel, if you will, and he gives his thoughts on the Giants. All right, moving on. We talked about the NFL schedule leak, and Now we're going to get into what Speakeasy had to say on Dallas and the Eagles.
Releases for the season. The first Sunday night game of the year, once again, will be the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Football Giants. Dak Prescott taking
Now, they are
on...
talking about Giants and... Wait, was this just about the Giants? I feel like they do get into the Eagles in this one. But they start off talking about Giants and Dallas.
Jackson Dart and the Giants. But the big news here in the Speakeasy, Thanksgiving
What
Day
is up, D-Money? I'll play your drop in a little bit after this video. Make sure y'all subscribe to D-Money's channel. He does gaming. Great commentary on that show. I love to be in that chat.
Set in Dallas, the Cowboys will be taking on the Eagles, a rematch of last year. And the last time the Eagles walked into AT&T Stadium, they left with a big fat L on that forehead. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be great. Fellas, how are we feeling about this schedule? You know, we'll talk Eagles first, then we'll get to the Giants game. Who has more to prove this next season, the Cowboys or the
I love
Eagles?
that question from Care Bear. Who has more to prove, the Eagles or the Cowboys?
You know, I'm gonna say the Eagles. The Cowboys don't have much to be. I mean, they don't really win like that. So
wow.
Yes, that's
I ain't even mad at that. It's true. We ain't even winning like that. Although we did beat the Eagles, but you know, we're not even winning like that. So honestly, it is what it is. Like I say all the time, it is what it is when it comes to the Cowboys. Like, you can't say nothing new when it comes to the Cowboys, right? But there is big talks on the Eagles and the expectations, them winning a Super Bowl. So I feel like there is a lot more pressure on the Eagles. What is up, Marcus? Good to have you in the building.
you know, this getting to the playoffs is a good thing for them. But for us, moving on from A.J. Brown, it's going to be a big deal. How do we bounce back? What do we look like? Jalen Hurts. You know, it's going to seem like, okay, the team chose to stay with Jalen Hurts.
Shout out to you, Drift Sports. I believe I seen you this morning in the Ravens. What's that show? I don't even, y'all, I'm bad at remembering channel names. I subscribe and then I forget about the channel name. But I know that they cover the Ravens. And I just recently subscribed to them this morning. But man, they had me so heated, y'all. I'm talking heated. Because you know, like, my extensive research and my background on the Diggs brothers, how informed I am of that situation. We covered the case with the Mila Adams, but then I also told y'all and gave y'all a breakdown of the ongoing case with Chris Blake Griffith and with his ex, Mulan Hernandez. Those are still ongoing court cases. Those are not over yet, right? And man, but they were like, oh, that it's over with. And I'm like, y'all can't be saying that. That's spreading misinformation because it's not over with. That's an active, ongoing court case. Anybody can look it up and see that it's still an active, ongoing court case. And I even said, you know, Stephon Diggs' brother, Darius Diggs, y'all, we reacted to that security camera footage of him getting attacked in the elevator and Darius Diggs trying to take digital evidence of his cell phone. And I'm like, if Stephon Diggs was innocent, why do you need your brother and his two little minions to go attack somebody? I mean, Darius Diggs was already found guilty. Darius Diggs was found guilty because it was hard to deny when you have that security camera footage of him attacking Chris Blake Griffith in an elevator, right? He was found guilty, sentenced to 2 years probation, all of that. So I feel like Chris Blake Griffith has more on Stephon Diggs than what Mila Adams was, you know, claiming. But anyways, I digress on that one, y'all. I digress on that one. Man, you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of that one clip. Hold on, let me make sure I remember where I'm at here. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to find it. All right, here we are.
So I'm not going to talk about it. I actually am going to talk about it a little bit.
Every time it's like, I'm not going to talk about it. But then y'all say something and it gets me heated and then I got to talk about it. But shout out to their channel. Let's see. Which one were we on? Okay, Speakeasy.
I think they got to be the Eagles. Eagles have more expectations.
Jalen Hurts.
Eagles first, then we'll get to the Giants game. Who has more to prove this next season, the Cowboys or
the Brown? It's going to be a big deal.
I was having to go back to where I was at. Okay, so it's lunch break, hot take. Okay, yeah, it's that channel, y'all. That's the one that I found this morning. But man, they had me heated. They had me a little bit heated. I ain't gonna lie, because I was just like, y'all can't ignore the ongoing court case here. What is up, Beard Man? I will play your drop after I get done with this video. I also got to play D Money's drop. You were awesome on Real to Sports. Oh, okay, so you've seen me on Real to Sports. Yeah, okay, cool. That lobby be going through it. Okay. Okay, thank you. I'm glad that you realized, like, you know, I came with the information. It wasn't like I was spitting all of this and just saying whatever. Like, I have proof to back it up. All right. The Cowboys will be vastly improved this upcoming season. We'll see. Y'all know I don't go making those claims. I just say we'll see when it comes to the Cowboys. Yeah, hit them likes. Let me pin that chat from Jesse. Jesse, are you a mod? I think you're a mod. No, I need to make you a mod, Jesse. I didn't realize you weren't a mod. Add as a moderator. Okay, hold on. Gonna make Jesse as a moderator and pin his hit the likes. I always be forgetting to remind y'all to hit the likes. Let's get my likes up, y'all. And let's subscribe while we're at it, too.
How do we bounce back? What do we look like? Jalen Hurts. You know, it's going to seem like, okay, the team chose to stay with Jalen Hurts and not deal with the A.J. Brown. So now we need Jalen Hurts to go back to that all-pro Jalen Hurts we know of, right? And money's on the line for him, too. And also our talent. Our team is so good and so talented that a lot of these guys got to get paid real soon. And it's hard to win championships when guys are getting paid at the top dollar. Yes, and I'll say the last thing is Thanksgiving. More of like that pride. And the last time the Eagles played on Thanksgiving Day, a brother named LaShawn McCoy got the Gobbler Game Award.
Gobbler?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yo.
You be rushing up them yards.
Y'all, this one was like out of pocket. Let me tell you, it got out of pocket fast when it came to this show the other night.
I don't know if it's because of that or it's just the MVP of the game.
Yeah.
So
you ate a turducken.
So I feel like, I'm going to pass that thing down to my boy 2-6, and you know what's about to happen.
Okay.
More pressure this season got to be the Eagles.
They got to
be the Eagles. Eagles have more expectations. I also think the Eagles made a lot of questionable decisions this offseason.
I disagree with Acho on that one. I do. I disagree with him. I think Howie did brilliant. Mina Kimes, if I can find the video, y'all, Mina Kimes talked about how the Eagles, they have a record with Howie and his success rates with who he drafts. And it was high, y'all. High success rates with the talent that he drafts. So I ain't tripping. I don't think it was questionable like Acho's claiming. We'll see where he's going with this, to be honest with you, because I don't even remember.
First questionable decision is all of the tumultuous nature surrounding A.J. Brown. Like, if you move off of an all-pro caliber talent, if you move off of a top 10 wide receiver in football, many would suggest, I would probably suggest a top 5 wide receiver in football, you can't afford to get worse. You get worse after moving off of A.J. Brown, everybody's going to question that decision. Jeff Stoutland's been in Philadelphia since 2013.
I can kind of see, maybe I jumped to conclusions. I can kind of see his point on this. But like I said, I am under the impression that you really don't need an A.J. Brown to be successful. And I hope, y'all, I'm hoping that the Eagles prove my point on this. Because if they keep all these smaller wide receivers, I hope they ball out. Y'all, I hope they ball out. I'm not an Eagles fan by any means, right? I, of course, want Dallas to do the best. I would love to see Dallas go to a Super Bowl at some point in my lifetime. Who knows if that'll ever happen? And my expectations are not high on that, y'all. Like I said, believe it when I see it. But I do want to see the Eagles do well. Of course, I want to see the Dallas Cowboys beat the Eagles, okay? But I want to see the Eagles, do well in all their other games, right? Yeah, there's my thoughts on that.
When Chip Kelly first got there, Jeff Stoutland, probably the best offensive line coach maybe in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
You allow Jeff Stoutland to walk out the door and you get worse. There are going to be
Talk. Let me tell you, y'all go subscribe to Smoke and Talk. But we play the Ravens. Is that I don't know. There was still some back and forth of when that game was going to be played. But I don't know if they have anything set in stone yet on the date and the time with that. But I'm excited to see that game. I won't be mad. Y'all know how I am now. I've grown, I'm older, I don't know what it is, but I don't trip over if my team loses. Now I used to, but not so much now. I feel like if Dallas loses, it is what it is. You win, you lose. We know how it goes, right? But I won't be mad just because, I want to see Lamar Jackson do good. I want to see Derrick Henry do good. I've watched Derrick Henry since college. I've actually met Derrick Henry's uncle. And then, ironically, I was in Florida and I met a mom whose two twin boys played high school football with Derrick Henry. Oh, that reminds me. I have a video that CDT Beats sent me. And I was like, man, that's actually true. I can attest to that because I met somebody who, was a part of that. So I got to play that video. But yeah, I want to see these athletes do well. I want to see these coaches succeed. I don't wish bad on these teams and, the players, the coaches. I don't do that like I used to. That's growth, y'all. I feel like that's growth. Maybe that's what would make me like a good sports analyst is I'm really not biased. Well, maybe I'm okay. Well, scratch that. Just scratch what I said. Maybe I can be a little biased. I feel like we all can be a little biased at times. Y'all know my drop on the Shannon Sharp. Let me go to it.
That's just me. Maybe I'm biased a little bit. Maybe I'm biased a lot of bit. But who cares for this discussion?
Y'all, this had an ad in it. I apologize. I'll skip the ad when I get to it. Let me see what y'all are saying. I'm just chit-chatting away. Shady had a hell of a game. Okay. I want the Eagles to beat the Cowboys. Mustang Logan, of course you do. You are an Eagles fan. I expect nothing less, okay? Now, of course, I want the Cowboys to win, but if they lose, I'm not going to be mad. Of course, I want to see Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, all of those former Alabama Roll Tide players do well. Chelsea, let me talk English here. Chelsea, there's talks that AJ may go to the Rams now. Ooh, Jesse, that's interesting. I'm not mad at that because, well, maybe I'm a little mad. But, the Rams, we're going to get into it, but the Rams are actually they're putting the Rams at top contenders for the Super Bowl. We'll get into it. Let's see what else you said. It's week 3 in Rio. Yeah, I know that it's an international game. We just don't know the time. They went back and forth with the time and the date. I don't know if they have anything set in stone. And like I said earlier, you have to take these leaks with a grain of salt. They're not really leaks. These are all intentional moves that the NFL is making. Like Schrager said, with the networks and everything, these are intentional moves. It's not really leaks. But we still don't know for certain the international games, and the committee for the ones who scheduled these games, they were still meeting when Schrager was discussing it on Pat McAfee's show. They were still having meetings on it, so just have to take everything with a grain of salt right now.
In football, many would suggest, I would probably suggest a top 5 wide receiver in football. You can't afford to get worse. You get worse after moving off of A.J. Brown, everybody's going to question that decision. Jeff Stoutland's been in Philadelphia since 2013 when Chip Kelly first got there. Jeff Stoutland, probably the best offensive line coach maybe in NFL history. Mm-hmm. You allow Jeff Stoutland to walk out the door and you get worse, there are going to be a lot of questions that have to be answered. You draft Mekhi Lemon in the first round.
All right, here we go. Here's the ad. I'll skip this. My bad on that, y'all. Is that a... Oh, I thought that was Josh Allen for a second. Okay, here we go.
That's a stretch. That's a reach for a team particularly that has an all-pro wide receiver. You want to trade an all-pro wide receiver potentially to a Super Bowl contender just to draft an undersized wide receiver? That's a stretch. So the Eagles have made so many
like I said, I disagree with Ocho on this. I feel like you can still be a successful team even with undersized wide receivers. They're shifty, as Ocho likes to say. They're shifty. They do come up with contested catches. You can't rule them out. Don't count them out. Y'all know I'm a sucker for an underdog story, right? And I feel like the way these Eagles wide receivers are getting talked about, they are making them an underdog, and I don't like that. I'm not with it.
Decisions this offseason that if you go into the season and you don't dominate, hell no, it's going to be anarchy.
Yeah. See, this is my problem with y'all talking about. The question wasn't who has more expectations going into next year. The question was who has more to prove. Mm-hmm. The Dallas Cowboys have one of the most high-paid quarterbacks in all of the National Football League. That's true. And they've missed the playoffs the last 2 years.
I don't feel like the Dallas Cowboys have more to prove. I mean, wait, was that the question? I don't know, but still, I don't know if the Cowboys have more to prove just because we know what it is with the Cowboys. What can you say that's going to be different? It's the same thing every year. I mean, there's just always constantly the same issues. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about him saying that they have more to prove. I'm not really seeing that because they're not under as much attention as the Eagles. Like, the Eagles have high expectations coming off the Super Bowl and everything that's been talked about with Jalen Hurts, and then you have A.J. Brown. There's just more to prove with their situation. And I already told y'all about the wide receivers, like how they're, being counted out and considered underdogs at this point, in my opinion, because they're undersized, as Ocho said. So I feel like they have a lot to prove on that. I don't know.
Cowboys traded away one of the best defenders in the entire league last year, and they missed the playoffs again. They had one of the worst defenses that we've seen in the turn of the century for the Dallas Cowboys.
The story. This is the same old thing. Even when we had Dan Quinn, and I don't know what it is. I'm shocked that these Dallas fans hate on Dan Quinn the way they do, considering he got us further than Zimmer or Eberflus, whatever his name is. I always say it wrong. But is it Eberflus? I don't know. There's something Fluss, right? But Dan Quinn got us further. Granted, it's the same thing every time with the Cowboys. We can't stop the run. Even with Dan Quinn, we had issues stopping the run against San Francisco, the Green Bay Packers. So, man, it's just the same thing.
And we have to turn around after having a phenomenal offense and make the playoffs the next year. They have more to prove. The Cowboys are not a surefire playoff team right now. And after taking
that with what he said about the quarterback being paid with Dak Prescott, that's nothing new with the Cowboys either. They've been known to give up big money to players and it go badly. I'm trying to think of a case where they gave up big money and it ended up being a success. Nothing's really coming to my mind right now. Derek, what is up? Stick around. We're going to be talking about the Bengals and what Troy Aikman had to say about Joe Burrow because I loved his thoughts on Joe Burrow. It was my favorite. Like, I really am a fan of what Troy Aikman had to say on all these QBs. And I know I'm a Dallas fan, right? But I didn't grow up in the era of getting to watch and appreciate Troy Aikman. Everything that I've seen was from like rewatching footage of him. But I have so much appreciation. I wish I could have grown up in the era like, my dad did with watching Troy Aikman.
and Malachi Lawrence with the 12th and then the 20th pick of the NFL draft, 11th and then the 20th pick of the NFL draft. We have so much more to prove than the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles have done nothing for the past 2 years but do what, Shady? Won the division,
Come on now.
win a Super Bowl,
Come on now.
go to the playoffs with expectations to go deep in the playoffs. They still have a roster that a lot of people are expecting to go to the playoffs and succeed. They have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. We know what they can do. Dak Prescott has to prove he can win playoff games.
Yeah, sure.
The Cowboys have to prove that they can make it back to the playoffs and field a competent defense. The Cowboys have so much more to prove, especially with the roster that we have. And are we paying George Pickens or not? Please, Jerry. Please, Jerry. Figure it out. I want to know. Is he going to be on our team next year or is he not? We have far more to prove, not only in the season, but in this offseason and heading into training camp.
I've wore this story out when it comes to Pickens, right? We know what it is when it comes to the Cowboys. We know how it is when it comes to the Joneses doing business. It's nothing new. We've seen how they treated wide receivers with T.O. We've seen how they treated Des Bryant. It's really nothing new. We've seen the deals go badly with Parsons and with Trayvon Diggs. It's really nothing new. I'm not surprised either way. I would, of course, I've said this 1,000 times. I would love to see Pickens go to the Ravens. I know that Tiffany brought up, there's talks of him going to the Buffalo Bills, I believe it was. I would not be mad. I say, just go ahead and, if you don't plan on keeping Pickens, go ahead and trade him while his stock is still high, right? You can get draft picks out of him and you can get, money or whatever out of it. Just go ahead and get it done. If you don't plan on keeping him long term, what's the point? I honestly don't understand what the point is, because you're honestly only hurting yourself if you keep him, because you got to think, if you keep him and you decide to put another franchise tag on him, then he's going to be ticked off about that. You also are going to have the issue of paying him more money, even if you do franchise tag him again, and he's going to be another year older. So then you start to worry. That's when you start to grow concerns about age. And then you're also, you just also don't have a long-term deal with the wide. Oh, man, I just have so many issues with that. Y'all, let's play. This is a good time to play one of my drops on Stephen A. We need a Stephen A drop in this moment.
Who told you that was okay? I want names. I want faces. I want to know. Because the shit ain't okay. How do you do that? How do you do that? What the hell is going on? I'm not in the mood. I just want to speak and I want to get out of here because I got better things to do with my time. But there's just certain things that are necessary.
I feel like it's necessary for me to discuss this. Y'all, I do. Because, oh man, that's just one thing that's had me a little bit heated, as y'all know. My thoughts on the George Pickens situation.
I guess the reason I don't think the Cowboys have more to prove is because nobody really thinks the Cowboys are going to make significant playoff noise. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not even saying that in jest, but Kieran, if the Cowboys go 10-7, we'd be like, bet. Fair?
Yeah.
No big deal. Eagles go 10-7, we'd be like, wait, does Nick Sirianni need to be fired?
Come on now.
Cowboys go 10-7. Brian Schottenheimer, he did a pretty good job, man.
Yeah, he's getting better.
Right? That's a pretty good season.
Yeah,
their defense is young.
Yeah.
They're figuring it out.
Yeah.
They're led by rookie Caleb Downs.
Hey, the future looks promised.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Eagles go 10-7.
I don't care. When it comes to Nick Sirianni, it's unfortunate that he is probably one that's going to be considered on the hot seat. He was considered on the hot seat right before he won the Super Bowl. And then after the Super Bowl win, people still weren't satisfied. They were like, yeah, but he only won it because of this, this, and this. They're still criticizing him. They're saying it's not, they're criticizing him the same way, which I feel like it was more warranted with Mike McCarthy, right? You had more people backing up what was said about Mike McCarthy and his play calling and how there was tension between Aaron Rodgers and then also the players. You had the other players speaking out against Mike McCarthy and his play calling and saying that it really had more to do with Aaron Rodgers and him changing the play calls than it had to do with Mike McCarthy. And that's ultimately why he got fired, right? Kind of the same thing with Nick Sirianni. They're saying that his play calling's like trash, like it's really nothing to do with him. They bring in Howie into the mix with it, and then they also talk about like Hurts. But now you have Hurts being talked about, you have Nick Sirianni being talked about. It's like one thing after the other. It's like, please, stop it. Stop it. I feel like Nick Sirianni is a great head coach, and it's unfortunate to see him not be appreciated, I feel like, the way he should be. And Nick Sirianni and Howie, they work well together, in my opinion, to come up with these decisions of who they'll draft, what's best for the team, all of that.
Jalen Hurts got to go.
Yep.
They shouldn't extend Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
It's time for Lane Johnson to retire.
Do you not
Maybe
think that's the case if next year Dak Prescott at 33 years old misses the playoffs for a third straight season?
No, I don't. I mean, they make, like, think about it. Have you heard any conversation about, oh, man, should they get rid of Dak Prescott? He hasn't gone to the playoffs in the
After
last
this
year.
next season, I think we will.
We haven't heard, like, a whistle about it, like a whisper. So my thing is, we don't. If that's Jalen Hurts, if Jalen Hurts goes to the playoffs 2 years in a row, what's the whispers going to be?
Roars, bro. Ain't no whispers.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Roars.
So it's a different situation.
Yeah, I just think the expectations are higher on the Eagles side for good reason, though. Yeah. We've seen them be in 2 Super Bowls the last 5 years. The Cowboys, in my opinion, have more to prove or shoot forward than the Eagles.
Care Bear on that one.
You're not really expecting that.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying, Shady. What expectations do we have? Do we really have that high expectations for the Cowboys? No, because we know what it is when it comes to the Cowboys. It's the same repetitive behavior. I'm waiting for something different. Remember, I always say I'll believe it when I see it. Until they show me something different, and I'm talking all the way up till the end of the season. And even then, it's still not going to be good enough for me because unless you come up with the Super Bowl, I'm still not going to be impressed, right? It's a Super Bowl or nothing for me at this point. And that we just, like I said, we know what it is when it comes to the Cowboys. It's different when it comes to the Eagles. They just came off of having a Super Bowl. You have a consistently great team. So I feel like the expectations for the Eagles are higher.
Take your time, man.
Yeah, no. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott heading into this next season because you just brought it up. Jalen Hurts, obviously first round exit this past year, Super Bowl the year before. Dak Prescott hadn't made the playoffs the past couple of years, had a phenomenal season this year, number 2 offense in the league in terms of scoring and yards. Who has more to prove out of those two guys in this upcoming season?
Now it's Dak Prescott. Jalen Hurts is who he is. He's done what he's done. You can't take what he has gotten from him. Super Bowl MVP.
Jalen Hurts is going to be, okay, this is a different conversation. Jalen Hurts is going to be good either way. Whether the Eagles keep him, they get rid of him at some point in time, that's neither here nor there for me because he has showcased he is a talent, right? What has Dak had the opportunity? And I blame it on Dallas. I don't blame Dak Prescott at all, y'all. I don't. Of course, there's always pros and cons to every QB. But overall, Dak Prescott is a talent. He just was in a bad situation with the Cowboys. I think it was Dan Orlovsky. Somebody had said, an analyst had said, there is no organization who sets QBs up to fail more than the Dallas Cowboys do. Can't remember what analyst said it. I want to say it was Dan Orlovsky. That has stuck with me. Those words have stuck with me because it's true. They did it with Troy Aikman. They did it with Dak Prescott. It's been, I guess, I didn't really watch Drew Bledsoe like that, but maybe the same could be said about Bledsoe. I can't really speak to that because I didn't watch Bledsoe. But watching Troy Aikman and watching Dak Prescott, they set Dak Prescott up to fail by not continually getting the pieces that he needs, having a bad defense, also the coaching changes. And while we're at it, you really can't get a head coach who is of high, standards or viewed in high regards. You can't really get a head coach like that because what head coach who is like a Bill Belichick or Andy Reid what head coach is going to want to go to an organization where the owner and GM is Jerry Jones and he's wanting control over player personnel decisions? Not only that, but you have your practices set up to where it's like a zoo and anyone can come see it. Like, what head coach that is of high talent is going to want to, join an organization like that? So many thoughts on that, y'all.
Take it from him. Dak Prescott, think 2-5 playoff record. If Dak Prescott were to retire today, his career would be completely debated. He's in conversations for third greatest Cowboys quarterback ever, behind Staubach, behind Troy Aikman.
Well, actually, no, I don't disagree. He brought up Staubach and he brought up Troy Aikman. So yeah, okay, put him in third. I would agree with that because you got to think he did break Troy Aikman's record and many of the others.
Hurts is cemented. You can't negotiate with where Jalen Hurts is as it pertains to what
Tony Romo. I'm sorry, I misspoke on that. I just now caught it. I meant Tony Romo, y'all.
Done in Philadelphia. Only second quarterback to win a Super Bowl behind Nick Foles, and Jalen Hurts actually was the Eagles franchise quarterback for a legitimate period in time, didn't just have a good run there. So to me, Dak Prescott has more to prove if you're moving into the micro, because at the end of the day, what is Dak really? He's a good quarterback. You gonna retire after a 15-year career being a good quarterback with 3 playoff wins, maybe if he gets another one? Like, what is Dak Prescott?
And this kind of goes back to Tony Romo's career. It was the same thing. You stayed with an organization who set you up to fail. Imagine if Tony Romo had requested a trade and went to a team that could have set him up for more success. I don't know what goes on with these Dallas quarterbacks when they get into a room with Jerry Jones, but hats off to Jerry Jones with his skills to keep these QBs for a long time. Hats off to him for that, because I feel like if they were to get traded, it would be a different situation. And I feel sorry for, I guess I do feel sorry. I do feel sorry for Dak Prescott because I feel like he was a talent, and if he was to be on a different team, it would be a different story.
Dak still got some stuff to do.
It's got to be Jalen Hurts. I mean, like I said before, we haven't heard anything about Dak Prescott. I mean, he's like this year, they had a solid year, right? But they didn't win at all. They blame him on the defense, and then you said nothing about Dak. Jalen Hurts, he's always been questioned.
Yep.
I mean, the brother made 2 Super Bowls, and he actually won one of them, and is the MVP of that game. And we still talk about, is he the guy? Is he the quarterback?
But
so
that's
yes,
just like I said earlier, that's just the same for like Nick Sirianni and what they say about him. It's the same thing. It's never ending with Jalen or with the Eagles organization when it comes to the coaches, the quarterback, whatever. Right? That's never ending. And at least with Jalen Hurts, he's had Super Bowls. He has something under his belt. He really has already set a high bar for himself, and people are going to view him, and they're going to see someone who, made history. Dak can't say that, so he has more to prove, and you got to think, he's older. Dak is older. He's remained with the Cowboys, not went anywhere else, and he's near the end of his career, y'all. He's near the end. It's going to be what it's going to be. If Dak, and I said this before, whenever Dak signed the franchise tag, I was like, that's not really surprising when it comes to a quarterback, because the quarterback market for a starting QB, like if he was, I think it was already established. Like you already had Mahomes with the Chiefs. You already had Jalen Hurts. Well, no, was Jalen Hurts in the league? I don't know. Wentz, it doesn't matter. But I feel like all these teams was already established with their QBs. So I don't really know where Dak Prescott could have went if he wanted out of Dallas. So then, of course, he did end up signing that franchise tag. Ultimately, we ended up paying him, but it's just, I mean, it's not the same situation when it comes to Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. Because like I said, Dak Prescott, he's at the end of his career. I don't know where he would go after Dallas at this point. And the same was said about Tony Romo. When Tony Romo started getting all these injuries, it seemed like every year the offensive line was collapsing on him. It was just awful. I was just like, man, it's time to call it quits. I was like, it's time. Just go ahead and retire. Go ahead and retire because I don't know where else you're going to go. Like, you drained your career at Dallas, and it's unfortunate. And I feel like Dak Prescott has done the same thing. He won a Super Bowl. Dak's still looking for the playbook. Yeah, exactly 3 a.m. I'm glad you're seeing what I'm saying.
About this year, you're moving on from A.J. Brown, and then when you look at all the talk and the commotion, it's about, is Jalen Hurts for the future? It's got to be Jalen Hurts. And I think it's because he's had so much success and he plays for the Eagles. And I'm learning the Eagles has the better team. It's a big market. It's a talked about team. If you look at this whole offseason, all the whispers been talking about Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. So it's like you can't win, you can't lose with him. So it's got to be him.
I think both of these, like I said, I feel like it's Dak Prescott because he's older. If he wants to continue playing, where is he going to go? Where would he fit in? The only names that come to mind is Miami. What's another team? You got Mendoza and Kirk Cousins at the Raiders. You have, maybe if things don't work out with Tua Tagovailoa, maybe Atlanta. Oh, man. Maybe the Jets. I'm just thinking, but even still yet, you're going to a team that's probably even worse off. Although, with Troy Aikman having his input on Miami and them, trying to make slow progress, Miami could end up working out in the future. I don't know. But it's like, where would Dak go if things don't work out for him at Dallas? I don't know. Oh, maybe the Steelers. I didn't bring up the Steelers, but maybe the Steelers. But even still yet, if, Aaron Rodgers is expected to return. So if Aaron Rodgers is building up Will Howard, it's like, would he go to the Steelers? I don't know. Pooh Man, you brought up the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings already have, you got to think, the Vikings have Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray will do well. He just needed a new system. I think Kyler Murray will be fine. But you also have J.J. McCarthy still. So it's like, why would the Vikings bring in Dak Prescott? I mean, I wouldn't be mad about it, but I just don't see that happening since they already have Kyler Murray and JJ. Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know how much he has left on his contract. It feels like his contract should be up by now, by the end of the year. I don't know. Heck no. Keep Dak away from the Vikings. Now, D-Money, you're sleeping on Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, like I said, he's a talent. People don't realize this, but he is a talent. He has top stats, and people sleep on him. He's just under an unfortunate circumstance being with the Cowboys, because the Cowboys have never, and it's like, I said earlier with one of those, I think it was Dan Orlovsky, but one of the analysts said, there is no organization that sets their quarterback up to fail more than the Dallas Cowboys do. And it's the truth. It happened with Tony Romo, and it's happened with Dak Prescott. And like I said, it's so unfortunate to see because I see the talent. It's just not what he needs being with the Cowboys.
Guys do have a lot to prove, but Jalen Hurts, like you said, I think we know what Jalen.
But why would Seattle be interested? Because they already have Sam Darnold and they have Jalen Milroe. They brought in Jalen Milroe from Alabama, and Jalen Milroe is sitting under Sam Darnold, building up those skills. And let me tell you, Jalen Milroe, he's a talent, y'all. I want to break down some old games of Jalen Milroe at Alabama at some point in time because Bill O'Brien, I talked about Bill O'Brien. Can't stand Bill O'Brien. Didn't like him at the Patriots when him and Tom Brady would get into it. And then he went to Houston. did bad at Houston, got fired from there, then came to Alabama as the offensive coordinator. Couldn't stand him there because he had Bryce Young, and then when, Jalen Milroe was under Bryce Young, Bill O'Brien was telling Jalen Milroe, oh, you should just switch to a running back, trying to get him to switch his position. And Jalen Milroe ended up taking Alabama to contend for a national championship. They didn't make it. Obviously, Michigan cheated their way to the top. You all know my thoughts on that. It was very unfortunate for Alabama. But, Jalen Milroe, shout out to him. I really like him. I think he'll be a great talent at the Seahawks. Let's see what else y'all are saying. Which one didn't win the big one? Are you talking about Tony Romo or Dak Prescott? Neither one of the quarterbacks for Dallas has won the big one, right? You didn't win under Drew Bledsoe, didn't win under Tony Romo, didn't win under Dak. I mean, and this just goes back to the Joneses setting quarterbacks up to fail. They only care about the money. They don't care about the Super Bowl wins. Dak needs a competent play caller. Now, I will say I think Schottenheimer did do decent with the play calling. I was impressed with it. The biggest issue I had was the defense. The defense was horrible. And I feel like the run game needs to be improved with Dallas. Send him to the Saints. Ooh, D-Money, that's a good one. I like that. And he would be reunited with Kellen Moore. And Dak Prescott performed so great under Kellen Moore. Also, you look at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts winning a Super Bowl under Kellen Moore's offensive coordinating. D-Money, I like that. If Dak Prescott's at the end of his career, wants out of Dallas, I would love him at the Saints. And he's not too far off from Louisiana. I think he grew up on Louisiana-Mississippi border. He ended up going to Mississippi State. But I think that would be a good fit for him. Sam Darnold is not better than... Yeah, I didn't say that. I didn't say that, y'all. I didn't say Sam Darnold was better than Dak Prescott. If you look at Dak Prescott's stats, Dak Prescott has impressive stats. Like I said, Sam Darnold, he had... many people didn't think Sam Darnold was going to do what he did, right? Because of his high interception rates. Troy was the best. Agreed. Troy was the best. Like I said earlier, I wish I could have grew up and watching live Troy Aikman, like primetime, not actual primetime, but shout out to primetime too, primetime Deion Sanders. But I wish I could have grew up, watching Troy Aikman and appreciating him live versus having to rewatch games and relive it through nostalgia. What is up, LC? Good to see you. Y'all, I gotta get through this video so I can play all the other drops that I have for y'all.
Is at this point, though. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback who's not going to turn the ball over, but he's also just not going to give you a crazy offensive season throwing the ball through the air.
Who said that? Oh, Derek. Dak is going to Denver. I wouldn't be mad at that, but then you got to think, you got Bo Nix. I don't think they're giving up Bo Nix. I'm trying to think of where Dak could go that would be a starting position for him at the end of his career. And I think, what D-Money said with the Saints, I think that's a great option. I also brought up Miami, which I don't think Miami's necessarily the best option. But the Saints, Miami, and the Atlanta Falcons if Tua Tagovailoa don't work out.
He's just not shown to be that through 6 years of his NFL career. I think Dak Prescott, more than anyone else in the National Football League, other than Lamar Jackson, has the most to prove. You are consensusly a top 5 regular season quarterback over the last decade.
Care Bear's out of pocket for this one, y'all. I don't agree with Care Bear on this at all.
He's been second to MVP voting before. He's had ridiculously good numbers. He's led his team to multiple 12-win seasons time and time again. But he has not shown up in the playoffs whatsoever.
Yeah.
He hasn't. He just has not shown that.
That's been the endless case for the Dallas Cowboys. It's nothing new. So what more do you have to prove? There's nothing else to prove. We know what it is with the Cowboys. It's either going to happen or it's not. And so far, with the track record, it's not happened. So what else can you say? The ones that have something to prove, I would think is never mind. Well, let's just keep it pushing.
Ability in the playoffs, and until he does that, he's always going to have more to prove. Because, like you said, what is Dak Prescott as a player? We don't know. At the end of Dak Prescott, if his career was to end right now, what would your recap of him be? Yo, amazing regular season player, but a complete liability in the playoffs. Yeah. That can't be his lasting legacy. And in my opinion, for Dak Prescott, maybe it's a John Elway type situation where you get it.
Legacy. I'm telling you, it's the same thing we see with Tony Romo. Same thing. And like I said earlier, hats off to Jerry Jones. I don't know how he gets these QBs to stay for as long as they do and remain loyal to that organization, considering how he sets QBs up to fail at the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know how the Joneses do it, but hats off to them. And it's unfortunate, like I said, because Troy Aikman, listen to me. Tony Romo, I'm getting my T names confused, y'all. But Tony Romo and Dak Prescott were talents, and people don't see it because of how the Dallas Cowboys set them up to fail. Because you've always had some sort of issues going on with the Cowboys, and whether that's been the defense or the offensive line collapsing, it's just always been something. There's just never been anything consistent to set up a QB to succeed.
Done later on in your career, I'm like that maybe some hopium right there, but I think he's always going to have more to prove than Jalen Hurts is. Jalen Hurts has already proved it. He's proved I can go out there and be a Super Bowl winning quarterback for my team. Dak Prescott has never proved it in the playoffs that he can be a real or lead a contender in general. So yeah, I can't disagree with you there.
I could disagree. I could disagree with that because it's like we know what it is when it comes to the Cowboys. But when it comes to somebody who has had a track record of success, they're going to have more to prove because they have an expectation of meeting these goals, right? What expectations do we have for the Cowboys? There can't be any you can't put expectations on the Cowboys because they've consistently proven that they can't make it all the way. But that's my thoughts on that. Shout out to y'all. Let me go to the drops for the Touchdown Tribe because we had some more people walk into the stadium of the Touchdown Tribe. What should we call our stadium, y'all? Should we call it the Touchdown Tribe Stadium? Now I'm getting some creative ideas here. We have a stadium. What should the stadium be named? We named my hat Rowdy after the Dallas Cowboys mascot. Shout out Rowdy. I called my chat the Touchdown Tribe. So what should the stadium name be for our little channel here? Help me out, y'all. Okay, going back up to the drops, we had D-Money coming to the building. Shout out to you, D-Money. Go subscribe to his channel. Like I said earlier, I'm going to play all your coleslaw drops. Let's see. Here we go. Starting with this one.
Oh, and can you bring my coleslaw on a separate plate? I hate it when it touches my bread.
Now let's play the other one.
Well, Scott, on the topic of coleslaw, we're on television. Your name is Mud in these parts. I'm Tell well the people aware. What your deal is
your
with the coleslaw.
Your name is Mud in these parts, D-Money. I'm just playing.
I don't want it on a sandwich. It's not on the sandwich. When you say don't put it on the sandwich, they go, it comes on the sandwich. And I say, not if you don't put it on the sandwich. And then they look at me like I'm not the one paying for the sandwich. Just don't put it on the sandwich. How hard is this?
I'm rant on coleslaw is hilarious. And he had the cast cracking up whenever he was ranting about coleslaw. This is D-Money, y'all. I'm telling you, D-Money can't stand coleslaw. This is how he rants about how much he hates coleslaw. Ironically, y'all, this was God sent. I'm telling you, God makes no mistakes because I was watching D-Money's live while I was playing ESPN and they start talking about coleslaw. And I was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way.
I'm not being the jerk here. I'm really not.
He said, I'm not being the jerk here. All right, shout out to you, D-Money. And shout out to LC in the building. I didn't get to play your drop yesterday, but hopefully you're still here so you can see your drop. Shout out to you, LC. Always love to have you here. Shout out to LC. And shout out to Derek. Let me go ahead and find Derek's drop.
Leave Chelsea alone. What's wrong with you, G-Honda? I'm the one who's telling you about your fantasy. Listen. Send me your address so I can send you a rainbow flag. Since you want to look like Alicia Keys. That's okay, man. You can't even grow. You can't even grow enough hair. Man, I'm not accustomed to a man wanting to look like a woman. And you too dark to look like her. Why don't you? You know what? You look like a good Jennifer Hudson. That's what you would look like.
Shout out to Derek for defending me against G Hudson. All right, let's see. We also have Cree Cree in the building. Shout out to Go Cree Cree. Y'all go subscribe to her channel. That is where Derek's drop comes from. So if you want to see the full G Hudson roast, you gotta go to Cree Cree's channel and subscribe to her. But shout out to you, Cree Cree. Always love having you here.
Do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
Yes, I know the Muffin Man. Who lives on Drury Lane?
Shout out to you. Okay, let me check the chat, make sure I covered everybody. Y'all are saying some good thoughts. I gotta scroll back up after I... Okay, let's see. I want to see what Pooh Man had to say. Give me 1 second. Waiting for this chat to pop back up. Come on. Let's click on this and then maybe it'll pop back up. There we go. Tony Romo, analyst personality, saved him. People literally forget he never won or been to a Super Bowl. Really? Do people really forget that? I feel like that's something everybody should know. That Dallas has not won a Super Bowl and therefore Tony Romo never had a Super Bowl. I feel like that's something people should not forget. But I would not be surprised, Pooh Man. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people forget that fact. But, you know, at first, I really didn't like him as an analyst. And I told my dad this. But my dad said some things that made me look at him differently. I was like, you know what? That's actually true. Because of how he breaks down footage and how he goes into detail, like, he does give good perspective on things. And I was like, you know what? It's not bad. I do like it now. I do have an appreciation for it now. Same thing with Tom Brady. Did not like Tom Brady at first. And my dad, he was like, yeah, but Chelsea, you got to look at how he breaks down quarterbacks and the details that he gives. And talking about the chemistry between the quarterback and the wide receiver and the tight ends. And I was like, you know what? That's a good point. So then it made me have appreciation for Tom Brady the next time I watched him, because I could see those little details. All right, moving on. Oh, Jesse, the Salem Stadium. That's hilarious. Let's see what the Muffin Stadium. Cree Cree. That's Cree Cree's, okay? Cree Cree Stadium can be called the Muffin Stadium. That's hilarious. Yes, congratulations to Go Cree Cree's daughter who graduated. Y'all, I don't know if you caught it. I got to watch it, but the national anthem, whenever they sang the national anthem, they did really good. Up until, you know, got to that one note. And I don't know, somebody's voice cracked just a little bit, but the ending made up for it. Because the way they ended it, it was so beautiful. But I really enjoyed that. But shout out to Go Cree Cree's daughter for graduating. Stadium Arcadium. No, I'm kidding. That's Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know what? I like Red Hot Chili Peppers though. Try to come up with a good one. Okay. Coleslaw's the devil. Listen, 3 a.m. Don't come hating. See, thank you, Derek. This is why me and Derek get along, because Derek's not hating on coleslaw. Okay. Ooh, good one, Pooh Man. The Chelsea Dome. And I like what Jesse said too. We have the Jesse Dome. We have a Salem Stadium. Oh, Good Vibes Stadium. Oh, I like that too. Good Vibes Stadium. Y'all have to vote. Which one do you like? The Chelsea Dome's perfect. Okay, so you guys are liking the Chelsea Dome. Looney Tunes Stadium. Jesse, you coming with some troll stadium names. That's hilarious. Muffin Field at Chelsea Stadium. Derek, that's hilarious. Oh, man. I'm going to come up with a new background. It's going to be like this theme, but it's going to be our stadium. I need to come up with a new background now. Okay, let's see. What else are y'all saying? Not Muffin Stadium. Chelsea Lynn, you at 350 subscribers. Wow! For real, that's crazy. But that's exciting. I'm excited for that. I really wish I didn't hear my little notification thing go off. I don't know why it hasn't been playing, but y'all know I set up my new subscriber notification thing. Maybe I can play it later and show y'all the little sound I have with it, but I feel like it hasn't been playing. Let's see, which one is it? I think it's this one. Maybe I can refresh it and it'll start playing when someone subscribes. Let's see, what else are y'all saying? But the Chelsea Dome, I really like the Chelsea Dome. Afternoon. Oh, what's up, Sports Chat? Y'all go subscribe to Sports Chat channel. Good to see you here. All right, moving on. Speaking of Mahomes, I have some thoughts on Mahomes. Shout out to Go Creek Creek's team, the Chiefs.
Game of this season, Troy, will feature two AFC West powerhouses with quarterback questions, at least as far as health is concerned. Bo Nix, Patrick Mahomes, Broncos, and Chiefs. It's a pretty good opener for Monday Night Football.
Yeah, it's a great opener. I mean, you make a good point as far as these quarterbacks coming off of serious injuries. I think everyone's wondering whether or not Patrick Mahomes obviously is going to be back for that one. A down year last year for that franchise. I expect them to come back and be the team that we've seen for much of the last decade. And
I'm with Troy Aikman on this. Y'all, I'm not going to name names, but I know somebody who said some negative things about the Chiefs. Despite what we may think of the Chiefs and how sick we are of seeing the Chiefs win, you can't count them out. And I agree with Troy. I think Mahomes is going to come back. I think they consistently make great moves. They have Andy Reid as a head coach. I'm not counting them out.
of course, with Denver, you could argue that they were a quarterback injury away from making it to the Super Bowl. It's unfortunate for that organization, but what a great job Sean Payton has done. So to kick
and
that
was
off week one.
unfortunate what happened with the Broncos with Nix going out. But I will say with this about that backup QB, he played decent, y'all. He did play decent.
Divisional game, I always liked that as a player when you opened up against a divisional opponent and kind of helped set the tone in what is a very competitive division.
And what is a huge year for us, obviously our Super Bowl season. It will culminate with you and Joe calling Super Bowl 61.
That's going to be exciting. I am looking forward to the Super Bowl with Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. But moving on, because I want to break down the backup QB, Justin Fields, that Mahomes has. Because even if Mahomes doesn't return, soon, even though they're saying he's on the fast track to return, he's already been getting in reps, all of that. He's on the fast track to return. But even if he doesn't return, I'm telling you, Justin Fields is still a talent. And I think Justin Fields going to a team that has a veteran QB can help him grow is the best thing that could happen to him. Because he didn't have what he needed at the Bears. Let's just call it what it is, okay? When he was at the Bears, the offensive line was completely collapsing on him. It's not like how it is now with what Caleb Williams has, right? So he went from the Bears, then he went to the Steelers. Now at the Steelers, he did sit underneath Russell Wilson. And whenever Russell Wilson went out, you can kind of see how Russell Wilson did help and benefit Justin Fields. Justin Fields made some really great moves, and I'm going to break that footage down of Justin Fields at the Steelers, because you saw a glimpse of that quarterback talent that Justin Fields still has. Of course, we know he ended up going to the Jets, and that was unfortunate too, because it's just another team that doesn't have what he needs to develop. Now he's with the Chiefs. You have Mahomes, and you have Andy Reid, who's great at developing these quarterbacks. It's just a great environment, I feel like, for Justin Fields. So I'm not sleeping on the Chiefs. Even if Mahomes is out, I still feel like Justin Fields can have success as a backup. But here we go. Let's break this down.
For the most part, man, I was pretty impressed. Let's take a look at this first play right here. So as we break down this first play, there's a couple things I like right here. One, they're going to run the play action. Now look at Justin
Y'all,
Fields.
I
He's
love
keeping
watching
his...
this is why I'm such a football nerd. I love watching film breakdowns. And I'm going to give my own thoughts because I do have some differing thoughts from this guy who's breaking this footage down.
Eyes down the field, trying to get the linebackers to drop back. That way when he hits the halfback screen, linebackers are all the way back here. They're going to have to run all the way to him. The second thing I like is he lets the pressure come to him. He doesn't get antsy feet, adapts to the pressure by making...
Let me just say this. If anyone is good with pressure... Here, I'm going to play my beats as we listen to this. Shout out CDT Beats. Y'all know, go subscribe to his channel. But, with the pressure, we all know that if there's anything that Justin Fields is good at, it's at handling pressure. Look at how many times he was sacked with the Bears, right? Or at the Jets. Like, the guy's used to having pressure in his face. It doesn't faze him at this point. But when he does have a good offensive line, a decent offensive line that can protect him, he's able to do more. You really see that here.
Right here. Running back gets out to 18, takes that thing for about 20 yards right there. Big first play by Justin Fields. Let's keep it going. The next play we're going to look at right here, you had Justin Fields under center. This time he's in shotgun. Makes the right read on a 7-yard hitch. So as we break down this play,
and y'all know
5-yard...
my thoughts with shotgun versus under center. I feel like if it's a rookie QB coming out the draft and you're starting him, I feel like at first they should play under center because that's what they're accustomed to in college, is playing under center. But at some point, once you get them established, start transitioning them over to playing in shotgun. But see, Justin Fields does well in shotgun too.
Hitch right here, post route next to him, and then another hitch on the outside.
What's your all's favorite route? I ain't gonna lie, I do like a post. I love a good post route. And the one where I broke down the game between the Cowboys versus the Eagles when Tony Romo was still the quarterback, they had Terrell Owens. Tony Romo threw a beautiful pass post, and it was a post route that Terrell Owens had ran. Huge yards off of that. So I love me a good post route.
Now Fields is watching this backer. How is he going to play this? If he immediately drops over here, we're going to look at the hitch or the post route over the top, depending on what the mic does. If the backer stays with the post route right here, immediately going to the hitch. So as we let the play develop, you're going to see Justin Fields at the top of his drop. He sees the linebacker right here, traveling with the post route, which is the hitch route.
What he's saying with this, whenever he's saying the linebacker was traveling with the post route, he's saying that he was well covered. Like, he was covered. So obviously, Justin Fields is going to go to the one with the hitch route.
Is going to be wide open.
Wide open. Look how much space. There's nobody covering him. The CB right here, he's not covering him. The CB's on the 50-yard line. Nobody around him to cover him. And he's wide open on that hitch route.
Good read by Justin right there, man. Pretty simple concept. If the backer goes over
now,
here,
see, sports chat, this is where, like, I disagree. Like, I really disagree with this because you got to think, it wasn't Justin Fields holding on to the ball too long necessarily. It was the fact that he didn't have an offensive line to protect him. We've seen it with the Bears, right? The offensive line collapsed so quickly. He couldn't, like, there was no time whatsoever for him. And it's unfortunate. But now, whenever you see him with organizations who have a more decent offensive line, he's able to get the ball out at a decent time. And we just seen on that first play how he handled pressure. He had a defensive lineman in his face, and he was still able to get that ball out at the perfect timing and get yards out of it. So I feel like if you have a decent offensive line, of course the quarterback's going to get the ball out quicker. It's not necessarily that he wasn't getting the ball out. It was just like he just had no time to throw because the offensive line was collapsing on him.
Either post or hitch right next to it. Good stuff by Justin Fields, man. Let's keep it going. All right, the next play we're going to look at right here. 1st and 10. Justin Fields, man, under center once again. So this is an under center play.
He's not lined up in shotgun. Does well under center. Like, he's showing that he can do either one.
And unfortunately, man, they botched the
snap. So this one
right
wasn't
here.
on him. When you botch the snap, that's more on your center than it is on Justin Fields, right? You can't, and we've seen the same thing with Tony Romo. Like, Tony Romo, I told y'all, I need to break down those plays. But Tony Romo, horrible with the pocket collapsing on him. The center was just botching these snaps, and he would either throw it over his head or too low, and then it would end up on the ground, and Tony Romo would have to scramble to try to pick it up and make something out of it, right? Same thing here. Bad snap.
You know, this play, it happens. The one thing I would suggest for Justin Fields, though, is if that ball's on the ground, man, just lay down on it. Don't pick it back up. Because when you pick it back up, man, you're going to get rocked like
you're going
this
to take
right
an
here.
unnecessary hit. I see what he's saying here. Here's my thought on that. These quarterbacks, any quarterback, this isn't just Justin Fields. This goes for any quarterback in the league. They want to make something happen. They are addicted to trying to scramble and make something happen, right? They want to do something for the team to help them win. They want the fans to be pleased, right? So I don't necessarily quarterbacks who, make plays like this. I don't. I get it. But of course, the safe thing to do, the best thing to do is to just do what he said, fall down on it, give up on the play, throw it away, go out of bounds, slide, those things, all right?
I mean, they're going to drill you. If that ball's on the ground, man, just fall on it, Justin. Let's keep it going. Right here, it's 3rd and 13. Justin Fields looks to the middle, comes back to the left, nothing's open, so what's he do? He checks it down. Now, some of you may be like, hey, he could have had a couple guys open. Potentially, yes. But I think this is what the Steelers want.
This was the smart move, just to check it down. Smart move. Anything else probably would have been a little bit more risky.
2 guys aren't open. Check it down to your tight end right here, right? So take a look what happens. We're going to let the play develop. We're going to pause it right here. Justin Fields started off looking towards the middle and then wanted to go back to the left side, hoping somebody was going to be open. But take a look right here. They've essentially got 5 defenders up here against 2 receivers. That's not going to work. Now, yes, outside receiver right here was going to put a nasty move on the DB, as you're going to see. He was going to be open. But Justin Fields doesn't have the time.
This is what people don't get. It's all about timing. People just think, oh, well, he holds on to the ball too long. Or, this, that, and the other. It's really not that. It's all about timing when it comes to everything has to go right. There's so many elements and details that go into this that has to go right for a quarterback to succeed. It's not just on the quarterback, hey, get it out your hands, throw it. It's not just that. I wish it was that simple, right? I wish it could be that simple. It's not that, though. You have to have your receivers, your tight ends lined up where they need to be, and it has to be timed right. They have to have the perfect moment of getting open and all of these things for a quarterback to make that pass and to have it executed the right way. There's just so many things that go into this that people don't realize.
Him sitting with the ball on 3rd and long, taking a sack, right? So, to me, he did the right thing right here. Ball snap, looks to the middle, wants to come back to the left, nothing's open. Hey,
I feel like
just
this is something that needs to be appreciated more. Quit criticizing quarterbacks for when they, whenever you see somebody open and think, oh, he could have this many yards, whatever, right? Quit criticizing quarterbacks who are just making the right decisions in that moment for what's best for that outcome. Because sure, you could have them take a risky pass. I think if it was a situation where Hail Mary or, you know, the game's on the line and you have to start making those kind of passes, sure. But when you're just making smart moves as a quarterback, like, quit criticizing them for not taking the riskier shots, okay?
Man, smart play. Let's keep it
And that's
going.
my thing. You
Right
want
here
them to make smart plays, right? I've seen Jalen Hurts get criticism recently for, someone said, oh, well, he don't make passes down the middle of the field, and he's not good at this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, that's not true. He's just making smart quarterback decisions. What are we talking about?
Justin Fields under center once again, a little play action. He's going to roll out, and nothing's really going to be open. So I like what he does right here. Just takes that out of bounds, right? He's going to roll out. Is anything open? Nope. That DB's going to...
You said he was sacked 27 times. Yeah, I talked about this earlier. I talked about how he just didn't have the offensive line with the Bears, with the Jets, and this is a different outcome. You're seeing, like I told everybody, you are seeing the glimpse of his talent when he was at the Steelers. I'm breaking it down right here for you. Like, he still has talent and people are sleeping on it. They just look at what happened to him with the unfortunate circumstances of not having an offensive line at the Bears, not having an offensive line at the Jets, and they're just saying, oh, he's horrible. That's not the case. If you look at what he did at the Steelers, he really showcased some talent here, and it was because he had a more decent offensive line. Granted, it wasn't the best, right? Because we all know how the Steelers have been on offense. Like, they gave up, I think Pickens is out. Who is the other receiver in this? He's gone. You've also had quarterback changes. We all know how it went with the offense, right? But it was still more decent than what the Bears had at the time and what the Jets had. That's my thing. I honestly wonder what would have happened with Justin Fields if he had what Caleb Williams has right now with that offensive line. I seriously wonder what could have happened with him.
Jump. That. This DB most likely is going to play that. If he puts this over the top, you get the safety right there. That's risky. This DB is picking up 14. I mean, man, really nothing is open. Smart play by Justin Fields once again.
Okay, so they just... Okay, thanks. Shout out to you, Pooh Man. So they announced that Saints versus the Steelers in Paris. That'll be a good one. I'll talk more about that later, hopefully. Hold on.
All the plays he was in. Botch snaps and everything. And for the most part, what I'm seeing is he's playing pretty smart.
See? I mean, you've got to think. This goes back to what I said. Everything has to go right. The snap, the timing of the receivers and the tight ends. Like, everything has to go right in order for a QB to succeed. There's so many elements other than just criticizing the quarterback. Oh, well, you're holding on to the ball too long. You're taking too many hits, blah, 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 right? There's just more details that go into it. He's playing smart quarterback moves right here.
Let's check out the next one. So as we let the drive continue, it's 3rd and 4 right here. Justin Fields is dropping back. He's looking for something right there and doesn't like what he sees.
Reading the field. This is the best thing. Like, he's scanning, having time to make a decision. If this had been him at the Bears or the Jets, he would have already been hit. And people would claim, oh, well, he was holding on to the ball too long. He would, I mean, but look at how the offensive line's holding up for him at the Steelers. It's just different.
I think he's about to go to the check down and then he gets sacked. So we're going to pause it at the top.
Okay, well, he took a sack here. Maybe he was holding on to the ball too long right here. But, I mean, if you look at all the other plays, he had more time to pass. Take it with a grain of salt. Every quarterback is going to have sacks. You know, not everything's going to go perfect for a quarterback, right? But this is a way better outcome than what he had with the Bears or the Jets.
Right here, take a look. Ball is snapped. We're going to pause it right here. I believe he's waiting for Pickens to get open. Now, Pickens is going to get open about a half
This goes
second
back to
later.
timing, y'all. It goes back to timing. Everything has to go right with the timing. He is holding on waiting for Pickens to get open here. Like I said, it goes back to timing with this. Y'all think that I just get so annoyed when people get so critical of these quarterbacks. I do. Now, I used to be one of them. I won't lie to y'all, won't hold you. I used to be one of them. I used to say the same thing about Tony Romo, and then it wasn't until I went back and started watching old games, I was like, Tony Romo was actually a great quarterback. He just didn't have the offensive line, or, you know, the center was throwing botched snaps. It was just always something.
I believe Pickens is open right here. However, Justin Fields is already moving to his next target. That's bagged right there. So I think his next read after that is to go to the check down. However, by the time he decides to do that...
So the timing's too late. Nobody was open in time. He could he have given up on that and just threw the ball away? Sure, but... I mean, that one, I would say that one happened so quickly. I mean, there wasn't really much a quarterback could do, any quarterback for that matter, could do in that situation, other than possibly throw it away. But then, if he was to throw it away, you're going to have the critics who say, oh, well, you could have had this right here. You shouldn't have gave up on that play. It's always going to be something.
Too late, he gets sacked. So, if he spent half a second longer on Pickens... I mean, I guess he could make that throw, but it goes back to what I said before. You don't want your QB just holding on to it on 3rd and long. Let him check it down, get some yards. You know what happens, man.
This is one thing I would have done here. Run the ball. Don't call an RPO play here. Run the ball. When you're that close to your own end zone, just start doing some run plays. Get a good run game established. That's what I would have done here. I don't even blame this on Justin Fields necessarily. I think it should have been a run play here.
So on the next drive, it's 2nd and 4 right here. Take a look what Justin Fields does. Another sidearm throw.
He makes up for it. He makes up for it, y'all.
On the first play with the screen, he's like, I can do it again. That wasn't a fluke, man. Take a look at this right here. You got that defensive end crashing down right there. Justin Fields like, okay. Sidearm, man. Beautiful throw to George Pickens.
Beautiful pass, y'all. And those are difficult throws, especially when you're under pressure.
These two together might be a nasty connection, man. Let's keep it going. So we just saw the sidearm throw right here. We see Jefferson going in motion.
Yeah, they say they say the same thing about Dart. They say the same thing about Dart.
Corner route that Jefferson's gonna run, man. Take a look at this. Play action once again. You got Justin Fields under center, then bang. Let's it rip to Jefferson right there. I mean, look at this post corner he does, man. Take a look. Bang, gets a DB to bite. I mean, look at this right here. He's going this way. DB still going this way. Justin Fields steps into the pocket and lets it rip, man. So we have a couple more plays left right here.
Absolutely beautiful. I love this, y'all. I'm a nerd. I'm sorry if y'all don't like it, if this is boring. I love watching things like this. I love game footage breakdowns, and this is how you get educated, y'all. If you want to be educated on how football operates, watch game breakdowns. Watch it like you are one of these athletes, because I promise you, if you watch it like you're one of these athletes and you see game footage breakdowns, it might make you less critical of these athletes.
Right. Justin Fields does a great job staying patient in the pocket. Lets it rip to Jefferson, but they say he's out of bounds.
That's the other one, Jefferson. He's no longer there. Where's he at now? Washington? I can't remember where Jefferson went to, but I want to say he went to Washington. But Pickens is with Dallas, and then you have Jefferson at Washington.
Take a look at this again. Justin Fields, very comfortable in the pocket. He's ready to throw it. Jefferson's not even out of that break yet. And he makes a pretty good throw right here. A pretty good throw if you ask me, man. Those two plus Pickens, woo. Not bad, man. Let's keep it going. So right here is going to be our last play, man. Take a look right here. The defense sends 6. I think Justin Fields gives up on this play just a little bit too soon.
This is where I think I disagree with him. But we'll get into it.
On this play, the Steelers run a great switch release, as you're going to see on the right side of your screen. Take a look right here. We're going to pause it about right here.
I don't think he gives up. I don't think he gives up. I think he sees that CB who's covering him has the potential of either intercepting the ball or knocking it out, right? I think he sees the risk here. He's assessing, he's not comfortable with it. I'm not mad at Justin Fields' decision here. I'm really not, because it goes back to making smart QB moves, and it's all about timing, right? He is not comfortable with the timing on this one. So, I'm not mad at this.
This is where I'm shocked Justin Fields doesn't put this thing right there on the money. I mean, look at the receiver and look at the DB.
Derek, I wish I could have got to Burrow quicker. Maybe I'll cover Burrow after this, while you're still here.
The receiver has great leverage. On third down, man, you gotta let it whip, right? Third down, defense sends 6, man on man.
See, and if you look at this, you see the timing of it. Look how closely that wide receiver is covered. I think he was just making a smart decision here. I think he was trying to not risk an interception or getting the ball knocked out or, some crazy turnover happening. I think he made a smart QB decision here. I'm not mad at this play whatsoever. But I guess if you're going to be hypercritical, you could say, hey, you could have threaded the needle on this one here if you want to be hypercritical. But if you're looking at smart QB decisions, he's making them. He is a talent. He's going to continue to improve. Now he's with a decent team who probably has all the pieces he really needs to succeed. So I'm not sleeping on Justin Fields. Won't sleep on Kyler Murray. Who else? Those are the two that come to my mind. All right, moving on. Let's go ahead and get into Burrow. You disagree with Troy, a 3-time Super Bowl champ and Hall of Famer? No, I don't disagree with Troy Aikman at all. Troy Aikman, I said earlier, I loved all of Troy Aikman's thoughts on every QB we are going to cover here. But let's go ahead and get into it since your phone is at 5%, like you said.
The latest odds for the
So
Super
he starts
Bowl.
off with covering, I think, Lamar, Allen, and then he gets into Burrow at the end.
Which once again will be on ESPN.
Y'all, look at
Sportsbook.
the odds. The odds are in the Rams' favor. They have the Rams pretty high up. And it's like I told you all in one of my previous lives. I said people were so critical of the Rams getting Ty Simpson, but they were planning for the future. Even though they were so hypercritical of the Rams draft picks, look at how high they have him ranked to win a Super Bowl. It's crazy to me. It's like, how are you going to be critical of them with the draft picks and then say that they're going to win a Super Bowl? I don't get it. And I think they made a smart decision for planning for the future if Matthew Stafford's out or retires.
Says the Rams are actually the favorites, just slightly ahead of the defending champion Seahawks. And then you see the Ravens and the Bills next, and you see the rest that are on your list as we talk things over with the Hall of Famer Troy Aikman, the voice of Monday Night Football. We announced the first Monday night game this year will be Kansas
I do have
City.
to take a lot of pause breaks because I have to show fair use for this. So hopefully YouTube doesn't get me on this one. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Denver. So we just talked about some NFC contenders. Let's go to the AFC. There are 2 quarterbacks in particular that I think are playing for immortality. You're an immortal. You won 3 Super Bowls. You're in the Hall of Fame. There are 2 guys who I think.
So on that image, you have Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow.
Are just missing that championship from their resume. And one of them is Lamar Jackson. He's a 2-time league MVP. We all know about the history in the playoffs. For the first time now, it feels like there's been a little bit of a culture shift there. New coach, feels like a little bit more is being sort of put on his plate.
I love Lamar Jackson. Y'all know I want Lamar Jackson. Oh, man, I didn't play Smoke and Talk's drop. I need to play Smoke and Talk's drop. Shout out to you, Smoke and Talk. My bad for missing your drop. But I'll play it, even if you're here or not here. But shout out to Smoke and Talk. Lamar Jackson, I'm telling you, that's one QB that I really wanted to win a Super Bowl. If Dallas can't win one with Dak, I would want it for Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow, of course, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but also Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. Yeah.
Your expectations for Lamar Jackson going forward?
Well, the expectations are what they've been. I mean, you expect Lamar to be in the MVP conversation. You expect the Ravens to be right there at the end of the day, which they typically have been. I agree with you completely, Greeny, that when you are a veteran quarterback, franchise quarterback, and you've had the years that Lamar has had, now the coach leaves, you got a young coach, first-time coach coming in, that puts a lot on the plate of the quarterback. So the expectations certainly are going to be higher for him. Hopefully he can stay healthy, but I don't think anything changes. They didn't make that change expecting any kind of rebuild or a slow development as a football team. So the expectations are what they are. He understands that, and he's probably feeling a little bit more of the heat than he otherwise would.
Like when you're just thinking this.
It's so unfortunate. I understand what he's saying here. I don't disagree with him. I think he's feeling the heat. I think Josh Allen's feeling the heat. Lamar, the thing with Lamar is I feel like that's what the Ravens needed. They needed a fresh, new system with a new head coach, all of that.
Like when you're a franchise quarterback, you with the star on your helmet, I mean, there's so much that goes with that. And now here he was in on the coaching conversations at least. I don't know that he was actually in the interviews, but he was a part of that. I mean, that really there's a lot that goes into being a star quarterback.
And this is what I was saying when I was breaking down the footage of Justin Fields, right? I said there's so many elements and different things that go into it. And I'm not talking just about playing the game. The mentality, and Troy Aikman's going to speak more on this, but the mentality, toughness that they have to have, I just wish so many people were not as hypercritical of these athletes as they are.
And there's some ownership that comes with that, and I do think that he was owed the opportunity to at least be conversed with as far as what they were going to do at the head coaching
And I agree with Troy. I think Lamar Jackson has earned the right to discuss with others who he would consider for the next head coach. Jesse, you said Lamar was the reason Harbaugh got fired. Thank you very much. I really hate putting the blame on that. You can't just put sole blame on Lamar Jackson. I mean, I guess you could if, you're somebody who is hypercritical of these athletes. But I don't put that solely on Lamar Jackson. I don't. I think it's what the entire organization needed. You got to think, they had Harbaugh for 18 years. And I just go back to what Mike Tomlin said when he retired, and he recently did the interview after he announced he's going to be an analyst on NBC. Mike Tomlin said when he retired, he just knew that it was time. It was time for the Steelers to have a fresh start. He thought that's what he owed the Steelers. So he even admitted at some point in time, it is time for a fresh start. I think Harbaugh could say the same. Would you love to remain with an organization until you retire? Of course, but Harbaugh, that wasn't the case for Harbaugh. Harbaugh wanted to continue to coach. He probably knew that it was time for a fresh start. It was either time to retire or time to go on to another head coaching position, now with the Giants. So I don't just put that on Lamar Jackson.
And have some input on that. He's earned that. And so I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. He's one of the obvious real superstars of our league. But it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like. We've grown so accustomed to it being done one way with John Harbaugh. And now with Jesse Minter coming in, what that might look like, and how will things change offensively with a new offensive coordinator for him.
And I'm hoping for the best. It just goes back to what I said about the Eagles too. I don't wish bad things on these teams because I know, like, the outside perspective of, well, or inside, however you want to take it, the perspective of what it takes for these athletes and for these head coaches. I'm not hypercritical of them. There's a lot that goes into it. And I want to see them succeed. You said, Chelsea, Lamar choked in the playoffs repeatedly. I don't put that, again, it goes back, I'm not hypercritical of these athletes. You can't put that solely on one person, right? It's a team sport. You have to look at everything. You have to look at the coaching. You have to look at the other players. It's just not on one person solely. It's really unfortunate that we are so hypercritical of, these teams the way we are. And I'm not doing it. I'm not having a space where I'm hypercritical of these athletes or, the coaches. Like, of course, there's pros and cons to every single one. Every single one. Could Lamar improve in some areas? Of course. But is he still a talent? Yes. And I go back, Jesse, since you brought it up, I go back to that Steelers game this past season. That was honestly one of my favorite games. And it's not like Lamar played like trash. That dude balled out. Everyone knew it. Every analyst was talking about it. He balled out. He had a heck of a game. That game just came down to who had the ball last, and it was Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, and they were able to milk the clock and win, of course, right? But he had a heck of a game. There was just some other players with drop passes and what have you, and it was unfortunate. But Lamar himself, he had a heck of a game. I don't discredit Lamar. I don't solely blame things on Lamar. Just like I solely don't blame it on Dak Prescott or any other quarterback. But we can agree to disagree on that.
Quarterback, I think in a similar situation, Josh Allen, your defending MVP, also ready to take that next step.
Oh, and that's another thing too. The MVPs this man has, it's like I'm not discrediting him.
Saying, like, we talk about Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen as sort of the preeminent players of this time, but Mahomes is the one we put in the conversations with the all-time greats because he has the championships. Allen needs that as well. He's another one they made a coaching change. He's another one who seems to have been heavily involved in that. How about
you said Chelsea Lamar got paid just like Dak? What's that have to do with it? I could care less. Honestly, could care less. Pay the players. I'm all for the players getting paid. I am. Because there's so much that goes into it with the mentality toughness you have to have, the physicality, all the BS you have to put up with from the analysts and the fans. Pay the players, in my opinion. I could care less when it comes to the pay. When you're talking about producing, that goes back to the organization. What are you doing to set your QB up to win? Have you done everything? Have you had all the pieces to set your QB up to win? Dallas Cowboys haven't done it. You could argue the Ravens haven't done it. Did they hang on to Harbaugh too long? Should they have gotten a fresh face, young coach in the system? Maybe. You could argue that, right? You could also argue about all the players. Has he had all the players, the right pieces? And he hasn't. Many analysts have talked about how there was always something lacking. At one point in time, it was the RB situation. They bring in Derrick Henry. Well, then you had issues with an offensive line issue or, what have you. The players staying healthy. Oh, and this is something that we're going to get into later because I told you all I had Mina Kimes videos. Mina Kimes broke down the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers and she broke down the Ravens actually. And she gets into detail about what Lamar has lacked. So I don't put much weight on that. I don't. But again, we can agree to disagree on that.
Allen in Buffalo.
Well, when I look at Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson for that matter, now Joe Burrow, he's another one. He's at least gotten to the Super Bowl.
Here we go.
But these
see now Tony Romo. Listen to me. Getting the names mixed up again. Troy Aikman has sang Burrow's praises. I agree with Troy when it comes to Burrow. An exceptional talent, has not always had the, right pieces. Some people are blaming it. Well, you paid all the wide receivers all that money. Some people blame it on that. That's not solely on Burrow, right? We can't just put that all on Burrow. That was an organizational decision to bring in those pieces. So that was up to them. I don't put that on Burrow, but I know people like to blame the quarterbacks.
To be on the teams that have been knocking on the door and yet not being able to get over the hump with Kansas City, and then last year with the stumbles that the Chiefs had, that was a real disappointment. And as I mentioned for Lamar Jackson, with some of the pressure that now lands on his shoulders, more so than what you would typically have as a franchise quarterback, I think the same, even maybe more so for Josh Allen, because they had a lot of success with Sean McDermott.
Wait, Josh Allen's had a lot. Maybe this isn't pieced together right. We'll get into Burrow again in a second.
success. He's an MVP player as well. And now I do think that he probably was very involved, or at least was able to communicate his wishes. And so they bring in Joe Brady, and
So now we're talking about Josh Allen. Josh Allen, the changes that they made, it's a very similar situation with Lamar Jackson.
Expectations are that he's going to be the guy to get them over the hump and get them into the Super Bowl. And so I understand, as Josh, what he might be feeling right now going into this. And that would be, my advice, if I had any for him, would be to just try to not put so much on his shoulders, just be him. And what I know of Josh, he's a beloved guy in that locker room. The players respect him so much. And I think he does such a great job of, his communications, the way he talks with the press. He's always complimentary of his teammates. I expect him to handle it perfectly, but I'm as excited as anybody. I know all Bills fans. I'm a big fan of that organization. People maybe find that hard to believe because of my history with them.
Shout out to the Dallas Cowboys for beating the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl.
We only beat them in 2 Super Bowls, but
but I've always been a fan. Jim Kelly, going back to those days. But even now with Josh Allen, I've known him since he came out of college. I worked that draft, and to watch what he's been able to do in the NFL has been.
Here's what I have to say about Josh Allen. I don't know what it is. Of course, I want to see these QBs succeed. Would I be mad if he gets a Super Bowl? Of course not. But there's some QBs that I just hope are great. They just never make it to a Super Bowl. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a part of life, right? I think it'd be a great example, a great, tough lesson for other kids to look up to. Like, things are not always going to go your way, but that doesn't mean you're not talented, right? So I kind of hope that's the case for Josh Allen. But do I think he might make it to a Super Bowl? I think he has more of a high chance than Lamar Jackson, unfortunately. I really don't feel like the NFL wants Lamar Jackson to win a Super Bowl. I don't. That's my theory on that.
Perfect guy for that city, and they're lucky to have him.
Which has made me think of when you're talking about the pressure that exists on a guy like Lamar and a guy like Josh Allen, and they're having careers that are tremendous, and they're having lives that most of us could only dream about. And your partner, Joe Buck, once gave me some advice when he was working his first Super Bowl. He said he wrote on the top of his play sheet, "Have fun."
Yeah.
Because sometimes you forget to do that. And I do that at the draft now. I write that on the
I
top
need to
of my
start doing
notes.
that before I go live. I need to write a note just saying have fun. Because sometimes I just forget to have fun and I start getting nervous and putting a lot of pressure on myself. Maybe I should just, make a note. Have fun. Eventually, when I get into a rhythm and I'm going, through the process of the show, I start to calm down and I start to really enjoy myself. But it takes me a while to get into that rhythm. So maybe if I write a note, have fun. Maybe it'll be just as simple as that, and it will help me get in a rhythm sooner rather than later.
Fun, like being Josh Allen, being Lamar Jackson, being Troy Aikman in 1993. Is it fun? It seems there's so much pressure, there's so much scrutiny, there's such microscopic evaluation of everything you do and say.
This is what I get into, the mentality toughness that these QBs have to have. This is why I'm not hypercritical, and it doesn't just apply to the quarterbacks, right? This applies to the coaches, this applies to any of the athletes. I don't like being hypercritical of these players. I always look at the pros and the cons, right?
Fun?
Yeah, I think it's fun. I thought there was a lot of scrutiny when I played, and there was, but there was no social media.
And I've talked about this before. I said it's different compared to what it was in the era of growing up without social media. Now you have everyone hyper-focused on what you do. It's not just the sports analysts. Now they're seeing the input from the fans online, and they're able to see all the rat poison, as what Nick Saban would say, and it weighs on them. You don't realize the impact your words have. This is why I'm not for being hypercritical of these athletes. And this is why when I'm doing my show, I'm very careful about what I say. Do I discuss the pros and the cons? Of course. I give it to you straight when it comes to both sides of it. But I'm not hypercritical. and I don't just focus on the negativity.
You know, you didn't hear from all the fans the way that you do now. These guys now have to be so
Oh,
resilient
that's a
and
good
tough.
one. Chelsea, future potential topic. What promising QB prospects were ruined by coaching? Man, I need to do a video on that. Pooh man. That's actually a really great idea. That's something I would be passionate about because y'all know I think it's the Cowboys, and I could definitely say that just because of what other analysts have said when it comes to the Cowboys. No organization sets their QBs up to fail more than the Dallas Cowboys do. And I'm not saying that obviously that wasn't the case for Troy Aikman, but when it applies to Tony Romo and Dak Prescott, that's definitely the situation. I don't even say that for Joe Burrow, because at least with Joe Burrow, he made it to a Super Bowl. He didn't win, but at least he made it. Lamar Jackson, he's made it to playoffs. Let's see, who else could I say? I feel like, with Josh Allen, they've always had, the potential of setting him up for success, so I really don't apply that to him. But I would say, hats off, hands down, the Jets, the Cowboys. Depending on how the Giants do, you could argue the Giants, but I have a feeling the Giants will do decent this year. For sure, the Dallas Cowboys and the Jets. Maybe Miami. You could argue Miami, even though 2022 Tua had a great season with Miami.
Mentally. And I think that's a big part of the evaluation that has to take place when you're talking about drafting a young guy. You know, Mendoza's going to go through this in Las Vegas.
Jesse, I don't know. Well, I take that back. Jesse, you do have a point with that. With RG3, I don't know if I don't think RG3 had the offensive line to protect him, and that's why he got injured. And so you could argue that you definitely could argue the Commanders on that one. Obviously, that's not the case now because I feel like Jaden Daniels has done well. He did have an injury. I do think that if they have to improve that offensive line to protect him better than what, and he has to have the wide receivers, which I think they brought in some pieces. So, I mean, I trust the Commanders system under Dan Quinn right now. But the time they had RG3, that's a good one.
Scrutiny is going to be much different from what he experienced in college. And are those guys capable of handling it? Is it fun? Yes. The fun is in the winning. I think the fun's in the competition, but the fun's also in the winning, and they've won a lot. So I think it's been a good life. They get paid, they get compensated. You know, someone asked me a while back, hey, do you think the Cowboys have let Dak Prescott down, meaning what we talked about earlier as far as the defense? I said, it's hard for me to think that anyone's let Dak Prescott down. He's the highest paid guy in the NFL.
Now, this is something I do disagree with Troy Aikman on. Yes, he got paid. You know, if you look at it from a money aspect, they have not failed Dak Prescott when it comes to financially. But when it comes to setting him up to win, they have failed him. They have failed him by not setting him up for success. And that's just the history with the Cowboys, though. That's the way it goes. But it just depends on how you're looking at it. With Troy Aikman, he's looking at it from a financial aspect. You paid him the money, financially, yes, you set him up success with that. But if you look at the team, right? We're looking at the pros and cons here. If you look at the team, has Jerry Jones, the Joneses, set the Dallas Cowboys up for success for a quarterback? And that has not been the case. So you gotta look at the pros and the cons here.
It's got a lot of really good receivers. I think
offensively, I don't. Y'all know I'm not the biggest fan of CeeDee Lamb. We'll talk about the pros and cons. Has he been great? Has he made contested catches? Of course. But if you look at last season, if you look at some of the cons, he was very much Butterfingers, y'all. I showed you that the funny pictures that came out on him being Butterfingers. You had one with the Butterfingers candy bar. Then you had him with his gloves and showing sticks of butter. He was very much Butterfingers. It's always something. Like I said, it's always something. But, Pickens, he really stepped up.
Pretty well over there in Dallas. So.
The reason it jumped into my head is because we're going to run out of time here, but just very quickly on Joe Burrow, he looked like a guy who wasn't having fun.
Okay, now we're back to Joe Burrow again. Joe Burrow. And this is something I've talked about with Joe Burrow. I said before, they have to make the changes now. You have to make the changes now because Joe Burrow, if you watched any of those press conferences with Joe Burrow, you could see he was at the end of his whip. Or is it whip or whip? I don't know. At the end of the whip, we'll say. He was at the end.
So as we sort of look at their season, just a quick moment here, like he looked like a guy who was feeling that pressure, who was feeling the weight of it.
Yeah, I think, he gets it. Joe's one of my favorite players. I just love the way he competes, the way he plays the game, everything about him. And I think just the frustration of...
And I'm with Troy. He is a talent. Joe Burrow is such a talent. If you watched him like I did since his LSU days, but also he was a quarterback, people forget. He wasn't always at LSU. He was at Ohio State. He wasn't getting a starting position. He felt like he deserved that starting position, and he transferred to LSU, where he started his last year and balled out, won a national championship at LSU, and then was drafted to the Bengals, right? If you just look at that, if you look at his track record and how talented he is, I would argue he's one of my favorites to watch. I would say Joe Burrow, let's see, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and then Dak Prescott. Those are my favorites. Well, no, I would go Jaden Daniels and then Dak Prescott. Those are my favorite QBs to watch. Now, does Jackson Dart have the potential to make that list? Of course. I can't wait to see what Jackson Dart does. Man, how can I leave off Caleb Williams? Caleb Williams is another one. Let's go and replace Dak Prescott with Caleb Williams. Then I'll go Dak Prescott, okay? So those are the top QBs I really enjoy watching. I didn't put Josh Allen on the list. He's talented too, but I don't enjoy him as much as I do Lamar Jackson. If you watch that Steelers versus Ravens game, you'll see what I'm talking about there. But anyways, let's keep it pushing with what he had to say on Burrow.
Him being able to do some things and him being able to play at a certain level and then not to have anything to show for it. And all three of those guys that we've mentioned, Lamar, Josh, and then Joe, they understand that ultimately they're going to be remembered. And all quarterbacks want to be remembered when they leave the game, but the way you get remembered is by winning Super Bowls. And for those guys not to have yet been able to do that, as I mentioned, Joe's at least gotten to one, but until you win one, no one remembers the ones that
And
lose.
Troy has a point on this, right? Nobody remembers you unless you win the Super Bowl. And I feel like so we talk about the athletes who care more about the money than they do the winning these days, right? Eventually, at the end of your career, you start to care about the winning, wanting a Super Bowl title. So then you start to request trades to be on a team that could be contenders for a Super Bowl, right? But I would argue with quarterbacks, it's a little bit different. With a quarterback, they want to have that Super Bowl title. But I mean, I don't know. You could make arguments. You could make arguments either way, right? But there's going to be those talented, amazing quarterbacks who just never make it to a Super Bowl. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. But quit being hypercritical of these players and acting like they're trash just because they don't make it to a Super Bowl. Because I'm telling you, they're talented. God ain't gonna give you everything you want, okay? God said you can't have everything in life, and that goes for the quarterbacks too. They're not all of them's gonna win a Super Bowl, okay? That is what it is. All right, let's go back to what Troy Aikman had to say on Burrow on New Heights. Because you remember I told you all yesterday, I wish I had that clip, because he also mentioned Burrow whenever he was on the New Heights podcast with the Kelsey brothers, and I really liked what he had to say on Burrow.
All right, stay in the division.
I think the
Pittsburgh
college
we go,
game.
where the decision,
My bad, y'all. My bad.
or rather, the wait for a decision from quarterback Aaron Rodgers is still ongoing. It was
1 second. I clicked the wrong thing.
I mean, it's one of the reasons why I love watching Joe Burrow play so much, because the ball comes out on time. He's an old school quarterback. I mean, he could have played Meyer in the 90s. And
you can feel that, yeah.
So
That's
I think
high
getting under
praise.
center.
Saying Burrow could have played in his era in the 90s is high praise. And if, like I said, it goes back to, if you watched Burrow at LSU, you can see that. You just knew right off the bat, watching him, like, this is just the most impressive QB. And seeing what he did with the Bengals whenever they were Super Bowl contenders, you know, they lost to the Rams, but seeing what he did with that Bengals team, so impressive. Such an impressive QB. And I do think Joe Burrow, if he has all the right pieces, I do think Joe Burrow is someone who could win a Super Bowl. That's just got to be, man, that's just got to be in the cards for Joe Burrow. It has to be. I would be so disappointed if at some point Joe Burrow doesn't get a Super Bowl because of his talent. It would just be so unfortunate. But like I said, you know, you do have those quarterbacks who are so talented, they just never make it to a Super Bowl. It is what it is. And could Joe Burrow be one of those? Yes, but I'm hoping that the Bengals made the correct changes to at least give them a shot for a Super Bowl. But I'm telling y'all right now, if Dallas Cowboys was to make it to a Super Bowl, and it was Dallas Cowboys against the Bengals, I'm going for the Cowboys, okay? I'm sorry, Joe Burrow. I'm sorry. I want it equally bad for Dak Prescott, right? I would have to go for the Dallas Cowboys. But if the Dallas Cowboys were to lose, would I be upset? Yes, not upset in the sense of angry. I would be sad. But I would be happy for Joe Burrow. I would be happy for Joe Burrow. I would be happy for Jamar Chase. I would be happy for those guys because I want to see them succeed. I don't wish bad on these athletes. I don't. But I don't know. This is hypothetical here. I ain't saying the Dallas Cowboys are going to Super Bowl. Okay, I ain't saying that. I think the Bengals would have more of a shot at a Super Bowl than the Dallas Cowboys. Just the way it consistently goes with the Cowboys. You know, I believe it when I see it when it comes to the Cowboys. At least with the Bengals, they have made it to a Super Bowl before. They didn't win, but at least they made it, right? And I went for the Bengals. I went for the Bengals in the Super Bowl that year. I did. And I wanted it so bad, y'all. I wanted it so bad for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Because watching them at LSU, I was like, just please, please, please let them have this. Let them have a Super Bowl. But, of course, that didn't work out. God said I can't have everything. Chelsea, keep in mind, no team has won the Super Bowl without a strong running game and tough defense. Exactly. You have, Derek, that just goes back to there's so many elements that go into it that people don't realize. And you have to have the run game established. The reason why you have to have the run game established is because if you don't have a good run game, you set your quarterback up for failure. That's something the Dallas Cowboys should know very well that they've done to Dak Prescott. With that whole Ezekiel Elliott situation and not having a consistent, decent run game, that's just so frustrating. But you have to have that run game established for a quarterback to succeed. You have to have the strong defense. What has Dallas lacked? A strong defense. It's just always something. But, you have to have those elements in order to set a quarterback up for success. There's just so many things that go into it. Yeah, Derek, I know you feeling what I'm saying. Okay. Moving on, y'all, to, let's see what else I got. So this is Troy Aikman's thoughts on Dart. So Jesse, if you're still around, here is Troy Aikman's thoughts on Jackson Dart.
Let's do one more NFC team. We'll stay in the division, and we'll talk about the Giants. I happened to run into John Harbaugh over the weekend, and he seems very, very excited and optimistic. Sometimes after a really long time for a guy like him, getting a new chance, new opportunity, sort of new life, young team. I thought they had a very good draft, but at the end of the day, it's going to be about that quarterback.
Yeah.
What did you see from him in his first year?
Well,
What do you think?
I like him a lot. I go back. I have a little bit of a history with Jackson. I tried recruiting him to UCLA.
Okay.
And in fact, I've lost a few quarterbacks that I've tried to recruit to UCLA that have gone elsewhere. He signed with USC.
So Troy Aikman tried to get Jackson Dart to go to UCLA. He ultimately chose USC and then transferred to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. But that's funny that Troy Aikman, you know, he was a former quarterback of UCLA. I want to say it was Mark Harmon. If y'all know NCIS, the actor Mark Harmon, I want to say he played for UCLA. People don't realize that, but Mark Harmon played quarterback as well.
Of course, Ole Miss. But so I've been following him. Comes from a wonderful family, competitor. I think he's the right kind of guy. He's wired the right way to be playing in New York. If I'm him, I would have to be awfully excited to have a guy like John Harbaugh, who has done such a great job as a head coach in this league. Yeah, there's no question that the Giants will be better. And
See?
how long will?
For those Dallas fans who are sleeping on the Giants, do not underestimate them. Even Troy Aikman himself is telling you right here, they made a lot of great changes, and you know they're going to be good. They're going to be good. It ain't the same old Giants, y'all. Ole Miss, just like Eli Manning, exactly. But of course, he did start out at USC and then transferred to Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin.
That take, I don't know. But just like for players to go to a new team and kind of get to hit the reset button, the same holds true for coaches. And I could see where John would be excited about the opportunity to be coaching one of the real flagship stations of the NFL.
Yeah, here's the only thing that would concern me about Jackson Dart, and that is, I remember I covered.
And we
Jim
all know what
McMahon
he's about to
when
get into. Well, I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess that he's about to get into Jackson Dart not sliding down, you know, making decisions that people think are reckless and puts him in harm's way to get injured. This is where I think he's going with this, right? Here's my thing with that. Those are things that can be improved. Those are techniques that can be improved. You can teach a quarterback, hey, I know you want desperately for this play to work, but if it's not going to work, you have an instinct in your gut that this play is going to be disastrous. Instead of trying to make something happen and risk injury to yourself or your teammates, because a quarterback can put his wide receivers in harm's way. Instead of risking some sort of injury, give up on the play. Throw the ball away, slide down, go out of bounds, whatever it takes to just give up on the play. Because you can't have everything. Like I said, you can't have everything. Not everything's going to go your way. That's just not how it works. God said you can't have everything.
he was in Chicago, and when he was healthy, he was spectacular. Jimmy,
Right.
people don't realize just how good McMahon was.
Right.
The problem is he was always hurt, because they used to say he has a linebacker's mentality, and they said it at the time like that was a good thing, and it turns out maybe it wasn't such a good thing. So if he were to come to you now and say, hey, Troy, you know, all these hits I'm taking, everyone's telling me I need to be more careful, like what would you say to him?
Well, we had that talk. We were covering there
Okay,
in a
so Troy Aikman said that he's had this talk with Jackson Dart, I'm assuming.
game against the New England Patriots in December, after he had come off a couple of his injuries, the head injuries. It was well documented and shown, and we had that discussion about him protecting himself, and within the first 5 plays he just got absolutely blown up on the sidelines. He didn't get out of bounds. So that is, you know, and I was told some of those things. You know, when you're young, when you get into the league, you do have this mindset, and that's
This just goes back to what I was saying, like the mindset, you know, players not wanting to give up on these plays, all of that, right?
Like Jim McMahon, I think that's part of what makes him him. I think it's the same for Baker Mayfield. Some of that bravado and toughness is how a lot of these quarterbacks are wired, and how they gain their edge.
They
And I
want to
think
be the
that's
tough guy. You look at somebody like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, you know, people consider them tough because they run the ball. They go through these defenses and they make plays like this. But on the other hand, like I said, pros and cons to everything, right? You risk injuries doing that. You have to be a smart quarterback. This goes back to me breaking down the film of Justin Fields. He was making smart decisions. You could argue, you know, Jalen Hurts, he does this. He makes smart decisions despite getting criticism of, hey, you're not passing the ball through the middle of the field. You're not good at this or that, whatever. But Jalen Hurts makes smart decisions, y'all. He does.
and he doesn't want to get away from that. But I would have to believe that John Harbaugh has already had conversations with him about that, because everyone knows. I mean, you can't lose your quarterback.
You can't lose your quarterback. You can't put your receivers in harm's way, because the thing with the receivers is they could have a defender on them and get rocked like that. I mean, it could be bad. This is why you want to have those good time throws, and you want to read coverages and make sure you're not putting your receivers in harm's way to risk injuries. There's just a lot of things that go into it, right?
Put yourself in harm's way like that. But I would say that my guess is the offensive linemen, the defensive players, all those guys in that locker room have enormous respect for Jackson Dart and the way in which he plays and the way in which he sacrifices his body. So you got to try to find a balance, and you never quite do, because nobody really talks about it as long as you keep getting up. It's when you don't get up that then they point to the fact that you're taking maybe unnecessary
Yes,
steps.
exactly. They start to look at, you know, it's only when they end up getting hurt or they see a dangerous play like you've seen with Tua Tagovailoa that then they start to question it, right? It's just it's like you said, it's a balance. And I told you all the pros and the cons. So there's Troy Aikman on Jackson Dart. I'm going to save the one about the Eagles, the one about Dallas. I might revisit this topic tomorrow and recover all of this again, because it is getting late. I want to get off here. But before I do get off here, I want to cover Mina Kimes, because like I said, Mina Kimes broke down Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers. I loved what she had to say on this, and I think she also gave updates with the Ravens and, you know, the pieces that were missing and, you know, what's changed with that, all of those little details. This is why I'm not hypercritical of Lamar Jackson, y'all, okay? Or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, any of the quarterbacks.
All right, stay in the division. To Pittsburgh we go, where the decision or rather the wait for a decision from quarterback Aaron Rodgers
What is up,
still ongoing.
Pinball? Good to see you. I will play your drop after I get through with this. I've been on here for a long time, okay? So I'm going to get through this, play your drop, and then get into the Ravens.
It was reported last week that Rodgers was expected to visit the Steelers over the weekend. Our Adam Schefter appeared on the Pat McAfee show earlier today with the latest.
The weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday have come and gone. Aaron Rodgers
and
was
we've
not
talked
at the
about
facility.
this. I showed you all this footage of Schefter on Pat McAfee show and the report he gave. Honestly, we're probably not going to hear a decision until like May 18th, possibly is the next date that I heard. We'll see what happens.
Once. The Steelers have a voluntary off-season workout program that begins 1 week from today. So with Aaron Rodgers, you never really know exactly what's right and what's not. Of course. But I've always felt like that May 18th date was a date that should be circled for him to come back. I still think the chances are that he comes back. I think most people believe.
Schefter saying still thinks the chances of him coming back are high, as do others. I'm assuming he's coming back. And then whenever Mina Kimes gets started, y'all are going to see what I'm talking about. I love hearing what Mina Kimes has to say.
He'll be back. He always could change his mind. He could always go the other way. I don't think anything's changed.
Okay, so I guess we're all waiting for May 18th as the next date we do an Aaron Rodgers check-in. But Mina, let's check in now with the pieces that they've added around the quarterback position in Pittsburgh. Is it enough for Pittsburgh to take the next step in 26? Yeah, I think this offense is really optimized for this version of Aaron Rodgers.
So this offense is optimized for Aaron Rodgers. I believe that too. I think Mina Kimes, as soon as she said that, I was like, yeah, that's right.
26 Aaron Rodgers. You know that you're going to see two things: quick game and a lot of it, and then they're going to want to run the football.
Quick
And
game,
starting with
run the football. Things that are going to be built for Aaron Rodgers to succeed. They really banking on Aaron Rodgers. And like Scheffner said, and Ian Rappaport and many of the others, they're saying that it's most likely Aaron Rodgers is going to return to the Steelers, and yeah, I mean, I would have to assume that. We'll see. You know, he could always change his mind, of course, but I'm really thinking he'll probably return.
quick game, I think the receiver additions in particular, Michael Pittman, Jeremy Bernard, who they drafted out of Alabama.
Roll Tide to
will be
Bernard.
really-
Here's my thing with Bernard. Bernard had a lot of drop passes at Alabama. Ticked me off, let me tell you. But we heavily relied on Bernard because Ryan Williams was out, y'all. Well, I mean, not out as an injury out, but he was just non-existent. He couldn't get going in the offense. I don't know what many called it a digression with Ryan Williams. So we really relied on Bernard, and my only thing was he had drop passes, y'all.
helpful in that regard because we know that Aaron Rodgers wants to throw the ball fast, and he doesn't typically push the ball downfield very much. And then the run game. This was actually a very efficient rushing attack last year. They were 4th in success rate league-wide.
See, I love Mina Kimes' breakdown. She gives you the stats on it. 4th. She shows you where they were ranked on, like, you know, fastest in throwing. What surprised me with this list is Tua Tagovailoa. I didn't realize how quickly Tua Tagovailoa was getting the ball out. But that's impressive considering the criticism that Tua has gotten.
And they made some additions. I think that'll continue that. Signing Rico Dowdle, who's an underrated free agent back, and then adding depth on the offensive line. Max Yanachor, who they drafted, gives him tackle depth out of ASU. Jennings Dunker
I
as
hate
well.
when they say ASU because I don't know if they're talking about Arizona State or if they're talking about Appalachian State. It's like, please just say which one it is. Because you got 2 ASUs. And both have great programs.
I do think that should Aaron Rodgers decide to come back, he steps into an offense that is better than the one that he was in last season.
See? You're setting Rodgers up for more success, making it more tempting for him to return. I don't see how Aaron Rodgers turns this down. I don't. Now, I know many people are arguing the money aspect of it. That could be a possibility. Could he want a little more money than what they're offering with the $15 million? Sure, but Aaron Rodgers has consistently said it's never been about the money. He said that with the Jets. He proved that with the pay he took at the Jets. He said that about the Steelers last season. He proved that with the pay he took with the Steelers. But could he want a little more money considering how far he did take the Steelers? Possibly. Possibly.
And to your point, Mina, that's by design. The Pittsburgh Steelers have operated this offseason like Aaron Rodgers will be back in the lineup. And they did flip a receiver room that was a weakness into a position of strength and depth.
And here's my thing. If you are trying to get a quarterback to come back, you are going to make it enticing. Aaron Rodgers, there would be no question. If the Steelers had the same type of team and the same type of issues as they did last season, sure, I could see him wanting to retire. But since they've made it so enticing, it would be difficult for someone who's been addicted to the game for so long to turn this down, in my opinion.
Because you bring Michael Pittman in, consummate professional. You go ahead and draft Jeremy Bernard, who is like the perfect kind of Pittsburgh Steelers receiver, the kind of receiver that turns into a fan favorite because he can pretty much do everything. He could be in the backfield. He could play inside. He could play outside. He likely slots in as their number 3 guy. He's a catch and run guy. He's a contested catch guy. And again, he's tough. He blocks, very similar to the Hines Ward kind of model of wide receiver. And then even Roman Wilson, who's a third rounder from a year ago, is still there for depth, or a couple of years ago. So when you look at Aaron Rodgers, it's not only like, yes, the team is better. It's the best opportunity
This
for
is what
him.
I'm saying,
And
the
this is
best
a team
opportunity for him. And you look at all the pieces they brought in.
that is built to go beyond just the first round of the playoffs.
I agree. Loved what Mina Kimes had to say. Loved his thoughts as well. You know, this is why I strongly think that Aaron Rodgers is coming back. But like I said, even if he decides to retire, it's still going to be funny because the Steelers got played by Aaron Rodgers. Either way, it's going to be funny. Because let me tell you, G Hudson, but G Hudson was like, he only has one arm, and I'm like, you better start showing appreciation for that quarterback because that's most likely going to be your quarterback again. And so now that's all the talk's been about is he's most likely returning. We're just waiting on him to sign the deal. But if he doesn't sign it and he does retire, then they got played. It's going to be funny either way for me. All right, moving on to the Ravens now.
After backing out of that Max Crosby trade due to a failed physical, Baltimore signed Trey Hendrickson to beef up its pass rush. And this new offense, while it lost some key veterans, it also made 11 picks in the draft, including taking guard Vega Ioane 14th overall. The Ravens also drafted 4 pass catchers to give Lamar Jackson.
Now, the Max Crosby thing, I think that was kind of suspicious to me, y'all. How they did Max Crosby, what was said about the medical team for Max Crosby, like what his doctors had to say, that, they had all the proof that what the Ravens was claiming was probably not true. So it's like, man, I don't there's some dirty business maybe going on with the medical. I don't know. But bringing in Trey Hendrickson, considering his age, they brought him in from the Eagles, or not Eagles, what am I saying? They brought him in from the Bengals. Man, it's just, people were asking me, Chelsea, would you want him at the Cowboys? And I said, what's the point? Like, if I look at his age, if it was like just a short-term fix, sure. But considering Dallas's situation with having to do all this rebuilding, especially on the defense, it's like, what would be the point of bringing him in? I look at Trey because of his age, and I see him just as a temporary solution, just one-year deal type of dude. I could see him fitting with the Ravens, right? Not so much anywhere else. It's like, if you know you're not a team that could possibly be a contender for a Super Bowl, why would we bring him in? You get what I'm saying here?
New weapons led by Declan Doyle in this offense. So, Mina, a lot of new pieces in Baltimore, which should help things. But on the field specifically, what do you think needs to change for Baltimore to turn this around?
I love Mina Kimes, y'all. She'll blow you away with her thoughts.
I think this defense just needs to be healthier than they were last season.
This goes back to why I'm not hypercritical of Lamar Jackson. People are like, well, he can't make it to a playoff. Well, have you considered all the little details that go into having a quarterback have success on a team? There was players who were not healthy, okay? Like, what are we talking about?
FTN, Fantasy has this great stat called Adjusted Games Lost that looks at how many players were lost to injury.
Ooh, I like that. I need to look into that. But she said there's this, did she say an organization or whoever it is, they have the adjusted loss of like the players. I need to look into that because that would be a good stat to keep up with in the future.
Units, and Baltimore's defense last year was 30th league-wide in health. So just being healthier, I think, is going to go a long way. They've made some really good...
Like I said, she's so impressive. Bringing that little detail into it, when you look at all the elements and aspects that go into it and what it takes for a team to succeed, you have to factor in where are they being ranked health-wise. When you start to see all the key players missing, that plays a factor into having Lamar Jackson have success. But look at how far he was able, considering all of that, still look at how far he was able to take them. Taking them all the way to that Steelers game, granted they lost, but he balled out in that game. Like I've been saying, he balled out in the game. it was just an unfortunate circumstance where it came down to who had the ball last. And obviously the Steelers had it, milked the clock. The rest is history when it comes to that. But he had a great game. Every analyst was talking about how impressive he was. You just didn't have the healthy players, and you also had, some players messing up on things like drop passes, what have you.
Additions, you saw there Calais Campbell, obviously Trey Hendrickson, drafted Zion Young. That should beef up the defensive line. But for me, a massive, massive piece of offseason news that people have been sleeping on is whether or not Nnamdi Madueke, their star defensive tackle, returns. Gone all of last season. This is the third.
So this is another element. They got to figure out another key position here. You have to have a great defense. You have to have all the little details to have a quarterback be set up for success. If little details like this, especially on the defense, is missing, you could possibly see a rewrite of the past history.
Highest paid player on the entire roster. He's got a cap hit this year of close to $30 million. If he is on that defensive line, he unlocks the entire group because of the double teams he draws and his ability to penetrate in a way that made him earn that salary. But if he's not there, then you start to worry a little bit about the injury bug again. So I think this Ravens defense has the potential to take a great leap, really improve upon what we saw last year, but they got to be healthier.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mina, and I think your point about health is like an overarching sentiment around the Ravens because every year.
What are you getting at, Jesse? Obviously, we all know the ultimate goal is a Super Bowl, but what are you getting at with that? Because I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to say here. I mean, you have to have all the right pieces for a quarterback to succeed to make it to a Super Bowl. Is that what you're trying to say too? I'm not sure why you added that in here.
Have a team to contend for a Super Bowl, and the only thing that stands between them and actually doing
You
that.
said what I've been saying. You have to have all those things for a team to succeed. Oh, you said no excuses? Next man up? I mean, you can say that, right? I like to say that. That's the mentality that Nick Saban would say. They talked about, you just reload. But there's always factors that play into it, whether we like to admit it or we don't. You look at the Broncos. Many people what Troy Aikman said earlier. You can make an argument that that was a Super Bowl winning team had Bo Nix not gotten hurt. You can say next man up mentality, but you're always going to have setbacks. It's just it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but it just comes with the game. But ultimately, the goal should be to keep everyone healthy, have all the right pieces, and have the right coaching, everything. Like I keep saying, everything, every little detail has to go right to set a team up to win a Super Bowl. This is why achieving that is so difficult. Achieving the ultimate goal, winning a Super Bowl, you can say, hey, no excuses, next man up. But if you don't have every little detail to go right in your favor, you're not going to have success of winning that Super Bowl. There have been very few teams to win a Super Bowl with backups. I think Tom Brady was one of them. I'm trying to think of another team. There's been teams that have won with backups, but it's not happening as often as people would like to think, right? And you can use the Broncos as an example. The Broncos had a backup QB. They were not able to make it to that Super Bowl. So, it just comes with it.
It's typically injury, specifically to, yes, depth players and everybody on every other position but Lamar Jackson.
See? When you have every player out to the degree that, they're talking about, because you look at where they were ranked. Mina Kimes gave you that stat on where they were ranked with players who were out because of health reasons. They were like 30th, she said. And he's here talking about how many pieces they had missing. He said everybody but Lamar was out. and you look at what Lamar was still able to achieve, granted everyone was out, is incredible. Incredible. I don't discredit what Lamar Jackson did. I don't.
Jackson is healthy, they're a Super Bowl contender. It's quite simple in that way. And when you think of even Derrick Henry last year, who
If
took a
they're
step
still
back from
healthy, Super Bowl contenders. I agree with that. But unfortunately, they've had so many things to not go their way when it comes to staying healthy.
2 seasons ago, a large part of that is because when Lamar Jackson is out of the lineup, it's a little easier for defenses to zero in on what your strength is. So even Derrick Henry being a year older, he's a modern marvel, and the expectation he will still be Derrick Henry. If Lamar Jackson is healthy for the duration of the season, they will be a Super Bowl contenders. And quite literally, it's that simple.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the health aspect, both of you, especially that Matabike injury. They lost in week 2. That was a tough one to overcome. But Graz, an interesting element of this offseason is the fact that Lamar Jackson's doing something that he normally doesn't, which is participating in the voluntary portion of workouts in the spring. What are you hearing about the expectations for him within Declan Doyle's offense, first-time play caller in the NFL, and Lamar trying to get that third MVP?
Yeah, obviously, I think they're very excited to have him there for the voluntary portion of the offseason because so much is new. Declan Doyle, as you mentioned, the new offensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, the new head coach. Neither has done this job before, and obviously a big help to have your starting quarterback in the building. It indicates that he's with the program and wants to learn as much as possible, as quickly as possible, so they can hit the ground running. Lamar Jackson has 2 years left on his contract with the Ravens. They talked to him about an extension this off.
2 years left on his contract, getting older. I mean, it's make it or break it time for Lamar Jackson. Or he could end up being like another Dak Prescott, remains with an organization for so long, but just never has what he needs to win a Super Bowl. And I know people will argue with that. They'll say, oh, well, you can't say that. He had this, this, and this. And it's like, well, we just seen the stat of where they had all those injuries. So what are we talking about here? It's like, no, he really hasn't had all the key pieces that he's probably needed to win and achieve that ultimate goal, like all these others.
Season didn't get it done. He sees himself as in a window to win now with this team that is a perennial contender and expects to be once again. I think what will be interesting to watch is his involvement as a runner in their offense. Obviously, we go back to the beginning of his career, and this was a guy that
y'all know the stats he put up with his run game. And I told y'all, like, my concerns with the NFL switching to more, and it's kind of carried over into college football. They start to look at more pocket passers. They did the same thing with Dak Prescott. They wanted him to be more of a pocket passer, less of a runner. So he really got into the rhythm of that. They did the same thing with Jalen Hurts, although Jalen Hurts, I feel like, was running more than what the others were. But Lamar, man, he has the talent for escaping the pockets, making play on the run, and doing QB sneaks, all those things. He has such a talent for it.
To rush for 100 yards in any given game. More reluctant when he came back off of injury last year. And I'm curious to see how much of Declan Doyle's offense incorporates Lamar Jackson as a designed runner or whether he's moving into a new phase of his career where he does that a lot less.
That's going to be interesting to see. I would love to still see him be more of a runner, but I would understand if they move it towards just being more of a pocket passer, right? Either way, he's talented at both. He's a dual threat quarterback for a reason. But man, I secretly do love watching him escape the pocket, making those amazing plays. But to keep a quarterback healthy and keep everyone, I mean, obviously the ultimate goal is to keep everyone healthy so you can achieve the goal of making it to Super Bowl. And if that means keeping him in the pocket and having less run designs for him as a QB, I could understand it. You could probably save some of those run designs for near the end when you're, at the Super Bowl and people aren't seeing that on your offensive, when they're watching your offensive game footage. It could be used against an opponent, right? Just things to think about, but I don't hate on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Okay, and speaking of that, Shout out to Smoke and Talk. I missed playing your drop, Smoke and Talk, but I'm going to play it now, even though you're probably out the building now. But shout out to you, Smoke and Talk, for showing up. Make sure y'all go subscribe to his channel.
Lamar Jackson, ball till you fall.
Ball till you fall, Smoke and Talk. Ball till you fall. Shout out Baltimore whenever he says Baltimore in the building. Oh, yeah, I got to play Couch's drop. What am I doing? Getting ahead of myself. Shout out to you, Couch. Let's play your drop. Let's see, where's it at? Did I pass it? I don't think I passed it. Man. Okay, here it is. Shout out to you, Couch. Also, Beardman was in here earlier. Shout out Beardman. I didn't play your drop either. But shout out to you. Y'all go subscribe to Beardman's channel. Shout out to Beardman. Alright. I do want to touch on one thing real quick, and that's with Lane Kiffin and what he had to say about Ole Miss, because he was the head coach of Ole Miss, now at LSU, and he had some thoughts. And I ain't mad at what he had to say. I find it to be credible, to be honest with you. He said, "Hey, coach, we really like you, but my grandparents aren't letting me move to Oxford, Mississippi. That doesn't come up when you say Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Parents were sitting here this weekend saying the campus diversity feels so great. It feels like there's no segregation." Y'all, that is big words. Big, powerful statement from Lane Kiffin. That has to be credible, considering all the things that have recently came out about Mississippi and the racism that has went on within that state for years. It is, just look into it. It's absolutely devastating. It will break your heart, to be honest with you. Like, I can't read too much into it because it breaks your heart. I read one thing about one of the former governors, and this was back when Kennedy was president and he had his brother RFK as, what was it, Attorney General, and RFK was having to try to go between this governor who was not wanting this one student to be a part of Ole Miss because of his race. It's completely heartbreaking. And that man, he put up a fight to get into Ole Miss. I think he did eventually get into Ole Miss, but because of how bad the racism was, he couldn't go there because you're putting your life at risk, right? So I don't think he ended up attending it, but he put up a fight to be able to have the option to go there. But that governor did not support it. The governor caused a riot. There was a riot that broke out. It was completely devastating. No, it wasn't Lyndon B. Johnson. I can look it up at which governor it was. Governor who didn't want black student attending Ole Miss fought with RFK on it. Okay, just gonna Google this and it should pop up. So it was Governor Ross Barnett. If y'all look into this governor was horrible at Mississippi. But just look up, Ross Barnett, 1962, and it said he famously blocked James Meredith from enrolling in the University of Mississippi, which is now Ole Miss. And, it was a legal battle, all of those things, right? And then a riot broke out. RFK had to get involved. It was so heartbreaking. So when you look at the history with how deeply rooted the state of Mississippi has been in with racism, what Lane Kiffin is claiming, I find to be completely credible. What parent, like, who fears, like, who hears all these things about this state, what parent is going to want their kid to attend that college, putting them at risk? Now, shout out to Lane Kiffin. He was able to get many of these athletes, and recruit them, like players that you wouldn't even think of. Lane Kiffin was able to recruit to Ole Miss. So shout out to him for that. I don't know how he did it, but he was able to do it. But now that he's at LSU, he's saying he's not facing that type of problem, and I believe it. I believe it wholeheartedly, y'all. But I'm glad that Lane Kiffin came forward with this information. And shout out to Lane Kiffin. There's Lane Kiffin now with the LSU logo. But saying that, I thought that was something that needed to be said in today's time. You said, yeah. Couch, I love history. I love U.S. history. And I just got curious. I was like, what presidents did the least for the Black community, right? I started looking into it. Some of them was really shocking to me. Theodore Roosevelt was one on the list that I think surprised me the most. I liked reading. I loved Theodore's, toughness and all of that. But then when I was reading some of the things that he said, and he really believed in like how do you say it? White supremacy. He really believed in that, and I was like, man, I can't get behind it. But it's just sad. It's really, really sad. And sometimes you have to blame the generations before you who passed on this type of teaching to the next child. It's unfortunate. It's really sad. But yeah, Lyndon was on that list. Lyndon was on the list too. Lyndon didn't really surprise me though, right? I already knew about that one. But Theodore Roosevelt, that was the one that I think surprised me the most. He was 5th on the list. Now granted, he wasn't the absolute worst compared to all the others, but he was on that list. But there we go. I definitely wanted to cover that before I got out of here. I've been on here for a long time, y'all, and it is time to close it out. The things that I did not get to today, I am going to recover tomorrow. But let's go ahead and close out with a motivational video from Mo. Shout out to your average logical thinker, Mo Perspective. She was live earlier today. I missed it, but I caught the replay, and she was having a tough day. So keep her in your thoughts and prayers. If you see her in the YouTube streets, make sure you reach out to her. Go watch. If you're wondering what happened with Mo, go rewatch her live, y'all. Go watch her live. You'll find out the story behind it. But she is such a great person. I look up to Mo. She is such a great person. The things that she does for other people. She has such a giving heart. Like, so considerate. But shout out to Mo. Yeah, Mo always inspiring. And here's what Mo had to say on don't let your haters or your enemies become your reason for motivation. So here's Mo's thoughts on that.
Focus on our haters, we give them life. Stop focusing on them. I know a lot of people like haters because it gives them motivation to do better. Once you know there's a hater, then just keep it moving, But when we focus on them and make them our primary source of inspiration, that's not good. Because it's going to turn you into something that you never thought you would be. And I think that's how a lot of these channels turn toxic. They get a little bit of haters, they respond, and then they go back and forth, and then their channel builds off of that, and now you got to keep the drama going. You got to find somebody else, and then the cycle continues. The next thing you know, you making money, but you ain't really feeling good on the inside.
Shout out to Mo for that one. That was so powerful. It really challenged me, made me think, do I let the haters or the ones who are not supporting me, whatever, do I let that be my sole motivation? It challenged me. It really made me think and question. It's like, I can't let that be my sole motivation, right? It just puts things into perspective for you. And the Bible talks about not making an idol out of, many things, right? And you can make an idol out of your haters. You can focus so much on your haters, you are not grounded in what truly matters. And I really love this from Mo. Whenever she said that, I was like, man, doing some self-evaluation, thinking, do I focus solely on my haters? I think at times there have been moments where I've done that, and then there's been times where it's like, yeah, I've touched on it, but I've moved on from it, and it's not just been my sole reason for motivation, right? But I have had moments like that, and you can't let that be your sole motivation. I really like this from Mo. Yeah, she had a great point on that. Yeah, Mo broke it down and she explained why, and I really valued what she had to say on that. And like I said, it challenged me, and I like that. I like being challenged because that's part of when you get motivated. You have to be challenged in order to be motivated. And whenever she said that, doing the self-evaluation and examining, hey, is this, my behavior? Like I said, at times I have focused probably a little too much on that than I should have. But, now I'm going to be more aware of that. And I did say, like, at times I think it's good to have that be your motivation, but that can't be your sole motivation. You can't just go every day focusing on a hater and being like, hey, this is the reason why I have to accomplish a goal. This is going to be my purpose. That cannot be if you're doing it solely just for that reason, it's not beneficial. But shout out to Mo for that. Yes, exactly. I like how you said that, Couch. But let's go ahead and get out of here. I've been on here for a long time, it seems like. But shout out to the Touchdown Tribe, everyone who came in. I really appreciate you. Really appreciate the replay gang. Hopefully y'all enjoy this. Everything that I didn't touch on, let me close this. Everything that I didn't touch on today, I'm going to get into tomorrow. So there's still more of the ones from Aikman that I'll cover tomorrow. I'll probably cover some of the ones that I covered today again tomorrow, but just stay tuned for that. And I will catch you in the next one, Touchdown Tribe. Bye, guys. Something's telling me this ain't over yet. I know that last night we let the liquor talk, but baby, something's telling me this ain't over yet. I know that last night we let the liquor talk, but baby, something's telling me this ain't over yet. I know that last night we let the liquor talk, but baby, something's telling me.